Chapter 217. Huyang City. Jun Changxiao walked in with Lu Qianqian. Because today was the day of the auction, cultivators could be seen everywhere on the main street. Judging from their attire, at least half of them were not from Azure Sun County. The news of the AI clan's healing pill and body-shaping pill had already spread throughout the county. Even though many cultivators couldn't afford it, they still wanted to broaden their horizons when they heard that many sects would be coming. The more lively Huyang City was, the happier Jun Changxiao was. Because this way, there would be more people appearing, and he would be able to earn more money. Isn't this sect head Jun? Just as he was about to head to the auction, a clan head of Huyang City greeted him with a smile. Someone even greeted him. However, he didn't know him, so how should he greet him back? Jun Changxiao thought for a moment and cupped his hands. Happy National Day. According to the time, his country was about to celebrate its 69th birthday. Thus, he decided to use this method to greet him back. National Day. Happy. The patriarch was dumbfounded by these words. Who is National Day? A person? Or is he referring to me? That's not right. My name is Jian Jun, not National Day. Sect Head Jun. Happy National Day. Sect Head Jun. Happy National Day. As Sect Head Jun walked, as long as someone greeted him, he would immediately return the greeting with grace. Thus, after walking for an entire street, all the people who greeted him were dumbfounded. They looked at each other, secretly guessing who was National Day and why was he happy. Speaking of which, why would a reputable person in Huyang City be so friendly to Jun Changxiao? One had to know that because he had offended Haoqi Sect and 100 Sect Alliance, everyone would avoid him if he entered any city other than Azure Sun City. This was because of the AI clan. The Haoqi Sect supported Iron Bone and was willing to lend him 10 million taels. Their relationship was definitely strong. Since the AI clan cared so much, he had to establish a good relationship with them. As for the Haoqi Sect and 100 Sect Alliance, sorry, we are clans of Huyang City. We must stand on the AI clan's side. AI clan's auction venue. Jun Changxiao brought Lu Qianqian along the way and stopped at the entrance. Sect Master Jun, AI Shanka, who was in charge of welcoming the guests, hurriedly said with a smile, "It's an honor to be able to participate in my AI family's auction." The major forces from the other counties all turned their heads. Was this little guy the Ironbone Sect leader, who had previously defeated the Grand Qi Sect? Tsk. He looks very young. The world has changed. Even an 8th-rate sect can defeat a 6th-rate sect. When I first heard the news, I thought that it was just a rumor. It was only after I came to Azure Sun County that I realized that it was actually true. In my opinion, the Azure Sun County is too small. A 6th-rate sect like the Haoqi Sect is probably inferior to a 7th-rate sect like ours. The upper echelons of the various forces discussed in low voices. An 8th-rate sect had defeated a 6th-rate sect. If it hadn't been proven over and over again, they would have found it hard to believe. I heard that Iron Bone is going to challenge the Sacred Spring Sect soon. The Sacred Spring Sect is a 5th-rate sect with a long history. The county it is in is also a place full of outstanding talents. Challenging them is tantamount to courting death. Taking over the position of sect leader at such a young age, you have the spirit of a newborn calf, not fearing a tiger. This is worthy of praise. Jun Changxiao's arrival became a hot topic of discussion among all the forces. However, there was more of a hint of banter. Sect leader Jun, AI Shanka whispered, "The forces like to talk about this and that. Don't take it to heart." Jun Changxiao said, "I won't." Their mouths were on other people's bodies, so they could say whatever they wanted. If he took it to heart, he would have been angered to death during the recruitment. "Please." AI Shanka cupped his hands. Jun Changxiao was about to enter the venue with Lu Qianqian. But just as he started, someone said, "Elder AI." Sect leader Jun went in without even showing his card. "Isn't that against the rules?" The one who spoke was a high-ranking member of a force from another county. "That's right." Someone followed up and said, "We are all lining up to show our cards." Ironbone Sect leader went in empty-handed. "Isn't that treating us differently?" This, AI Shanka was a little embarrassed. Because his relationship with Jun Changxiao was extraordinary, He didn't want him to show his VIP card at all. The cultivators from the other counties disagreed. They were lining up here to enter. How could an 8th-rate sect leader cut the line and enter? Elder AI, you have to give us an explanation. Although we are not locals of Azure Sun County, we are all customers who have applied for a card. Now that we are lining up obediently, how can we explain it to someone who doesn't follow the rules? Could it be that in the eyes of the AI family, we, a 6th-rate and 7th-rate sect, are inferior to an 8th-rate sect in your county? The forces from the other counties were pressing. To put it simply, they were deliberately targeting Jun Changshao, or the AI family. To put it bluntly, they were targeting the entire Azure Sun County. Although there was no war between the counties, they were still from different camps. Coming to someone else's territory, they definitely had to show some strength. Not to mention, the overall strength of Azure Sun County was low, and it was not worth mentioning in front of the rich counties. Many forces and even cultivators from the large counties had a sense of superiority. Regional attacks were even more serious in the Falling Star continent. In fact, because of some small grudges, it was normal for it to evolve into a war between counties. AI Shanka's expression became more and more ugly. Obviously, he didn't expect these people from the other counties to be so unreasonable. Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed and retreated with Lu Qianqian. Elder AI, what are the rules for entering the auction? Brat. One of them said, you have to take out a platinum card to pass through this path. Otherwise, you will have to line up behind us. Brother Han, we need a gold card to enter this path. Do you think an 8th-rate sect can take it out? You have to spend at least 5 million to obtain a gold card from the AI family. Not to mention an 8th-rate sect. Even a 7th-rate sect might not have one. Haha, they are really poor. The forces from the other counties laughed. At the end of the line, the various forces from the Azure Sun County had an ugly expression on their faces. A moment ago, they were targeting the Ironbone sect. Now they were openly mocking the Azure Sun County. As long as the locals were a little bloodthirsty, they definitely wouldn't be able to take it. Jun Changshao wanted to keep a low profile, so he quietly took out his card and walked in. But when he saw how arrogant these people were, he immediately lost his temper. Elder AI, he pointed at the path from the other counties and said, only a gold card is qualified to enter this path. Yeah, AI Shankar replied. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, I was just wondering why there are so many trash in the line. So it's just a bunch of gold scum who don't even have a platinum card. The word scum was obviously an insult. The forces from the other counties were instantly enraged. But just when they were about to attack, their expressions froze. This was because Jun Changshao had summoned his platinum card. Under the refraction of the sun, the card flickered and swept across their faces. It was so dazzling that they hurriedly closed their eyes. How could he have a platinum card? The AI family's platinum card was usually only available to the big shots of 6th-rate sects and above. Those below the 6th-rate sects couldn't get one no matter how much money they spent. A bunch of gold scum. Slowly line up. Jun Changshao waved his platinum card and said proudly, I will be going in first. Alright. After taking 2 steps, he stopped and turned back with a smile. My 8th-rate sect is really stronger than your 6th-rate and 7th-rate sections. The forces from the other counties could only watch as he went in. Although their eyes were filled with anger, there was nothing they could do. After all, the other party had a platinum card while they had a gold card. Speaking of which, if a gold card was trash, then those with a bronze card would definitely feel inferior. However, when the forces from the Azure Sun County saw the expressions of the cultivators from the other counties, as if they had eaten a fly, they immediately felt satisfied. Stop being so cocky and pretentious. Chapter 218. Sometimes, if you don't act cool, others will think you're a fool. Therefore, Jun Changshao could only take out his platinum card and swagger in front of a group of gold trash. To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that this group of outer county forces was too arrogant, sect leader Jun definitely wouldn't want to be so ostentatious. Sigh. There was no one else like him who was so reluctant to act tough. The various forces of Azure Sun County were very comfortable now. They had long disliked this group of outer county forces, who thought they were better than others. Jun Changshao took out his platinum card in front of everyone and smacked them in the face. This was undoubtedly very satisfying. However, an 8th-rate sect could have the highest standard card in the auction house. This made the forces of Azure Sun County realize that the Iron Bone and the AI family were very close. Oh my god! Sect leader Jun actually has a platinum card. This is a symbol of status that can't be bought with money. The surrounding cultivators of the Azure Sun County were shocked, and their gazes were filled with respect. Inside the auction house, there was a slightly long passage with many famous paintings and antiques hanging on both sides. It was very luxurious. Jun Changshao led Lu Qianqian all the way and stopped at the huge auction house. In the middle of the auction house was the auction stage, and there were rows of seats around it. These were the seats for bronze card users. Gold card users were on the second floor and had a private room with a high vantage point. Platinum card users were on the third floor. Not only did they have a private room, but the decorations inside were also luxurious. It was a symbol of status and nobility. Sect leader Jun. As soon as Jun Changshao stopped, the AI family head hurried over and said apologetically, "Please forgive me for not going out to meet you." There were already cultivators sitting on the bronze seats, and they all looked over in surprise. The AI family had recently released 2 types of pills, and their status in the hearts of the various forces had risen. No one expected them to be so polite to an 8th-rate sect leader. On the second floor, the upper echelons of the various sects were also looking at Jun Changshao, who was standing at the entrance. Some were deep in thought, some were disdainful, and some were smiling. Is he Jun Changshao? In a luxurious single room on the third floor, a woman in the prime of her youth stood in front of the window. Her gaze locked onto Jun Changshao as she whispered softly. This woman was in her early 20s. Her long black hair cascaded down her shoulders, and her waterfall-like bangs covered the left half of her beautiful face. Her skin was as fair and smooth as a pearl. His exposed right eye was as clear as a stream, and his entire body was surrounded by a noble aura that made people stay away from him. Jun Changshao couldn't detect the gazes of people of the same sex, but he could sense the gazes of people of the opposite sex. So, he instinctively raised his head and looked into the other party's eyes. This woman, is very beautiful. He only took a glance before withdrawing his gaze. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Master AI still has to host the auction, but you have to personally welcome me. I'm really embarrassed." Sect Master Jun is an honored guest of the AI family. No matter how busy you are, you should come out and welcome him personally. The AI family head's voice was very loud. It was obvious that he wanted all the martial artists present to hear him. As a result, the various forces were even more curious about what the Iron Bone sect leader was capable of to be valued so highly by the AI family. Sect Master Jun, please go to the third floor. AI Shang made a gesture of invitation and led Jun Changshao to the staircase. The third floor? Could it be that the Iron Bone sect leader had a platinum card? The various forces' expressions changed, and they were even more shocked. Sect Master Jun. When they went up the stairs, AI Shang lowered his voice and said, "The person you saw just now is the palace master of Miaohua Palace, Shi Jingxian." Jun Changshao said, "I guessed it." Although it was just a quick glance, he could feel the aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. So, he immediately determined that this must be the palace master of Miaohua Palace. She was able to look him in the eyes without batting an eyelid, even though he was super handsome. The 3 words "extraordinary woman" were enough to live up to her name. The system couldn't stand it anymore and said, "I've never seen such a shameless person. What do you think?" AI Shang smiled and said, "Isn't she as beautiful as a fairy?" Jun Changshao said, "She's not bad." The corner of AI Shang's mouth twitched, but when he saw Lu Qianqian following behind them, he couldn't help but think, this girl's looks are not inferior to the palace master of Miaohua Palace. No wonder Sect Master Jun said not bad. Third floor private room. Jun Changshao and Lu Qianqian walked in. The room was very spacious, and the decorations were extremely luxurious. Even the sofas and chairs were obviously made of high-quality wood and fur. One word: extravagant. Jun Changshao was a little shocked, but he remained expressionless. After all, he was the sect master. Even if he entered the inner court of the palace, he couldn't act like he hadn't seen the world. Sect Master Jun, AI Family Master smiled and said, "This AI still has to welcome the guests, so I won't disturb you. If you have any orders, you can inform the servants outside." Jun Changshao looked around carefully, then came to the window and found that the palace master of Miaohua Palace was in the opposite wing. This was the opposite wing. Coincidentally, Shi Jingxian was also standing by the window, and her gaze fell on Jun Changshao. The two of them were looking at each other from top to bottom, but now they were looking at each other from left to right. With so many people watching, it was a little inappropriate to stare at a beauty. But now that Sect Master Jun was standing in the room, there was no need to worry. You look at me, I look at you. At most, we'll hurt each other. This woman had fair skin. Although half of her face was covered by her bangs, she was still a great beauty. As expected, a world full of spiritual energy was the best place to nurture such a natural beauty. It was really inappropriate for a man and a woman to stare at each other. But the thick-skinned Jun Changshao wouldn't back down. You look at me, I look at you. At times like this, the girl would usually be the first to admit defeat. After all, she was more or less a little shy. But Shi Jingxian wasn't ordinary. She was still looking at our sect master Jun, and her gaze didn't waver or dodge at all. How could a woman be so thick-skinned? She dared to look at me, the super handsome man, in the eye? Very good, very good. Today, I'll show you what the ultimate electric eye is. Jun Changshao turned around and gave her a side attack. He flipped his hair coquettishly, and a smile appeared on his face. Hiss. In an instant, electricity flew out. But the palace master of Miaohua Palace didn't react at all. She still looked at Jun Changshao without any emotion in her eyes. Damn it! Is my charm that bad? Sect Master Jun, who was extremely confident in his looks, couldn't move a beauty even after using all his electricity. This was definitely a huge blow to his self-esteem. I don't believe it. Jun Changshao straightened his body and put his hands behind his back. Sometimes he frowned. Sometimes he was depressed, sometimes he was deep in thought, and sometimes he was smiling like a spring breeze. He actually knew how to pick up girls. If anyone says that Sect Master Jun is single because of his strength, I'll get angry with him. The two of them looked at each other for a long time. Because it was a little long, Sect Master Jun's eyes were dry. I can't lose. I have to make her shy. Just as Jun Changshao made up his mind to defend his dignity as a man, Lu Qianqian walked over and glanced at Shi Jingxian. She said regretfully, "Although the palace master of Miaohua Palace is capable, it's a pity that she was born with an eye disease." Gah! Sect Master Jun was instantly petrified. Chapter 219. Jun Changshao showed his manliest and most handsome side to the fullest. However, Shi Jingxuan's eyes didn't waver at all, which made him unconvinced and angry. Come on. I'll fight you for 300 rounds today. Let's see who will look away first. Although sect leader Jun was usually very decisive in managing the sect, she was more like a child when she was willful. Just like that, they looked at each other. His eyes were dry. Jun Changshao didn't even blink. He had to defend the dignity of a man, and let this woman understand what it meant to be shy. However, when Lu Qianqian walked over and said those words, he froze on the spot. After a long time, Jun Changshao said with a wonderful expression, Is this woman blind?" "Yes," Lu Qianqian said. "She was born blind and abandoned by her parents in the wilderness. The former palace master of Miaohua Palace passed by and brought her back and raised her. So miserable." Looking at Shi Jingxian, Jun Changshao gradually realized that although her eyes were as clear as water, they were also empty and lifeless. Sure enough, she had an eye disease. No wonder she was called an extraordinary woman to be able to become the palace master of a fourth-rate sect, even though she couldn't see the light. Lu Qianqian said, "She probably came to the auction because she hoped that the healing pill could cure her eye disease." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "The healing pill is only used to heal injuries. How can it cure diseases? Sigh. How can I look at a girl with an eye disease? Jun Changshao retracted his gaze and strongly condemned his childish behavior just now. Sect leader Jun Shi Jingxian, who was in front of the window, smiled and said, "Were you looking at me just now?" Her smile was very bright, giving people a refreshing feeling like a spring breeze caressing their faces. What a pity. Such a beautiful girl has never seen the light, or the great rivers and mountains between heaven and earth. Jun Changshao said, Jun has often heard people say that Palace Master, she is an extraordinary woman of the falling star continent. Now that I've seen her today, it seems that the rumors are true. Shi Jingxian laughed and said, Sect leader Jun's iron bone was able to defeat the Hao Qi men. That's what I admire. This was true admiration, not the mockery and ridicule of those outside the county. Jun Changshao was just about to say something polite. A woman walked in front of Shi Jingxian, glared at him, and said, Palace Lord, when we came, Grand Elder said not to talk to strangers, especially this kind of indecent man. An indecent man? What did he mean? Am I not serious? Jun Changshao wanted to argue with the woman, but she had already helped Shi Jingxian away from the window. Qianqian, Jun Changshao said angrily, I'm not serious. Lu Qianqian said, judging from sect leader's winking behavior just now, you are indeed not serious. Jun Changshao slumped on the chair powerlessly, howling in his heart. I'm just showing the most handsome side of a man. Sect leader, Lu Qianqian said, what do you think of this palace lord of Miaohua Palace? Jun Changshao said honestly, her voice is pleasant, and she looks very beautiful when she smiles. There was another meaning to his words. It was to tell his eldest disciple, when you can speak nicely, when you can smile. Lu Qianqian naturally couldn't tell. She still said coldly, you're only looking at the surface. As far as I know, this Shi Jingxian is a ruthless person. Oh, Jun Changshao said, how ruthless? There are rumors that after she took over as palace lord, she ordered her disciples to find her biological parents. Lu Qianqian said. That's human nature, Jun Changshao said. Lu Qianqian said. Later, Shi Jingxian found her parents, and then killed them with her own hands. What? Jun Changshao's eyes widened. It was detestable to abandon one's own child. But as a son, there was definitely something wrong with one's mind if he killed his own father and mother. It was hard for sect leader Jun to imagine that such a beautiful and gentle woman would do such an extreme thing. A few years ago, a sixth-rate sect offended Miaohua Palace. Lu Qianqian said. 3 days later, all 5,000 members of the sect died in the training field. Even the livestock were not spared. Damn, Jun Changshao said in shock. That's too ruthless, isn't it? Sect leader Jun had also annihilated other sects. But every injustice had its perpetrator, and every debt had its debtor. He only killed the patriarch and elder of the Spirit Spring sect, and dismissed the remaining disciples. This kind of bloody and cruel annihilation was simply outrageous. Miaohua Palace is an evil sect? Righteous. That sixth-rate sect is an evil sect? Righteous. Since they're all righteous, why didn't anyone condemn them for annihilating a sixth-rate sect? Yes, Lu Qianqian said. The patriarch of the fourth-rate sect, the backer of the sixth-rate sect, went to Miaohua Palace to denounce them, but was severely injured by Shi Jingxian. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. That woman looked harmless, but she was actually so two-faced and cruel. Suddenly, a scene appeared in front of Jun Changshao's eyes. In a pitch-black room, Shi Jingxuan's back was facing him. Then she slowly turned around, raised her blood-stained saber, and grinned malevolently at him. Thinking of this, sect leader Jun shuddered, thinking to himself, she really is a ruthless character. In a side room of Miaohua Palace, Shi Jingxian had just sat down when she smiled and said, Li Er, Ironbone sect leader's voice sounds so young. Her exposed eyes were clear, but unfortunately, they were empty and lifeless. Palace Lord, the Miaohua Palace disciple named Li Er said, that guy looks like he's 18 years old. Shi Jingxian murmured, he must be an amazing man to be able to defeat a sixth-rate sect as an eighth-rate sect. Unfortunately, at this point she lowered her head. She said rather dejectedly, I can't see what he looks like with my own eyes. Lear's expression changed, and she hurriedly said, Palace Lord, this is an auction. Many factions are here. You mustn't think too much. Several Miaohua Palace disciples were also terrified, and they rushed forward to comfort their Palace Lord. After a while, Shi Jingxian raised her head, and the dejection on her face was covered by a smile. She said, I know. Phew. Seeing their Palace Lord's smiling face, the disciples heaved a sigh of relief, and their tense minds gradually relaxed. Jun Changshao, Shi Jingxian murmured, if my eye disease is cured one day, I'll definitely see what kind of man you are. Lear said, Palace Lord, don't think about an eighth-rate sect. It might be destroyed by others one day. A female disciple said, I heard that Iron Bone and Sacred Spring Sect have a 1-year agreement. If they lose, it'll be difficult for them to establish themselves in the Jianghu in the future. Huh, Shi Jingxian said in surprise. Sect leader Jun is going to challenge a 5th-rate sect. Lear said, don't you know your own strength? Why do you have to challenge Sacred Spring Sect? This is a classic case of courting death. So Patriarch, don't worry. After the auction, go and find out when Iron Bone will challenge Sacred Spring Sect. If I'm free, I'll go and listen. Shi Jingxian said expectantly. The disciples were speechless. Why was their Palace Lord thinking about the unknown Iron Bone sect leader? Chapter 220. At the AI family's auction venue, the bronze area was already packed with people as various forces continued to pour in. They were all here to watch the show. The main bidders were in the private rooms on the 2nd floor. Many forces were already rubbing their palms together after taking their seats. As for the 3rd floor, which was the highest level, 2 5th-rate sects came in one after another. When they found out that the 4th-rate Miaohua Palace was next to them, they immediately became low-key. In the eyes of the low-level sects, the 5th-rate sects were giants. In the eyes of the 5th-rate sects, the 4th-rate sects were also giants. They could not afford to offend them. Of course, some of the 6th-rate sects also had platinum cards, and were placed on the 3rd floor, because the people sitting in the rooms next to them might be the big shots of the 5th-rate sects. They were very careful, afraid that they would accidentally provoke them. However, when they saw Jun Changshao through the window, their eyes were filled with surprise. The elder of the 6th-rate Atlas sect was rather puzzled. Which sect's disciple is this? He looks very unfamiliar. Elder, a disciple whispered. This is the sect leader of Iron Bone, Jun Changshao. What? The elder said angrily. How can an 8th-rate sect be on the same level as us? The Atlas sect was a 6th-rate sect in the outer county. They were stronger than the Haoqi sect, so they were very arrogant. Naturally, they could not tolerate Iron Bone sitting on the 3rd floor with them. When the other sects in the outer county learned that an 8th-rate sect was on the 3rd floor, they also felt humiliated. They looked at Jun Changshao with disdain. If this was their own territory, they would have flipped the table. High-level sects had the dignity of high-level sections. It would definitely be degrading to be with low-level sections. However, they could not do anything because sect leader Jun had a platinum card. TSK. Catching the disdain and indifference in the eyes of the elders, Jun Changshao said, It seems that I'm sitting in a room that I shouldn't be sitting in. In their eyes, sect leader should be on the 1st floor, Lu Qianqian said. Are you angry? Jun Changshao said, come and hit me. When the various forces were in position, AI Shang appeared on the auction stage. The noisy venue instantly fell silent. The AI family head said in a clear voice, Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend the auction held by my AI family. Next, those who came here were all here for the medicinal pills. No one was willing to listen to official words, so they went straight to the point. Begin the medicinal pill auction. This sentence instantly ignited the atmosphere. Some of the various forces who were determined to obtain the pills stood up in their rooms. AI Shang waved his hand and placed a healing pill on the auction stage. I won't explain the effects of this healing pill. The starting price is 300,000. 300,000? Jun Changshao, who was sitting in the room, asked in surprise. The price is so high. The auction begins. As soon as AI Shang finished speaking, Someone from the second floor shouted, 400,000! 500,000! Jun Changshao, who was watching the auction for the first time, felt the corners of his mouth twitch. It seemed like the 300,000 that the AI clan had set wasn't a problem at all. 1 million. At this moment, a clear voice came from the opposite room. Obviously it was Shi Jingxian. Jun Changshao opened his eyes wide, raising the price from 500,000 to 1 million. This woman was really ruthless. Thinking that she might need the healing pill to treat her eye disease, she would probably be willing to sell it even if it was 10 million. Thinking about it from another perspective, if he was blind and knew about the heaven-defying healing pill, he would definitely buy it at all costs. Girl, you are destined to be disappointed. Let's not talk about whether the healing pill can cure your eye disease. Just your realm alone is already limited. Jun Changshao didn't think that the Palace Lord's strength was only at the channel opening realm, or the martial disciple realm. When Shi Jingxian called out the price of 1 million, the auction hall was silent. No one dared to follow suit. It wasn't that they didn't have the money, but they didn't dare to. They all knew that the voice came from the room of the Miaohua Palace. Wasn't she tired of living to compete with a fourth-rate sect? Jun Changshao touched his nose and said, "This is not good." Shi Jingxian would definitely be satisfied with the price of 1 million. However, if the fifth-rate sect called out the price first, no one would dare to follow suit. How could they make a lot of money? The AI clan had also thought about this problem. That was why they set the price at 300,000. Moreover, the rules stated that if the same martial artist or force wanted to bid for the second pill, they would have to pay double the price. The starting price was 300,000. If the first pill was sold for 400,000, the second pill would be sold for 800,000. Therefore, the major sects could only buy one pill at the lowest price. There were a total of 20 healing pills in the auction this time. Many forces who were determined to get their hands on them all wanted to buy just one. Seeing that no one wanted to follow suit, AI Shengyao shouted 3 times and announced that the first healing pill was sold to the Miaohua Palace at the price of 1 million. In fact, he knew that the Miaohua Palace would participate in the auction. It would be good if they could offer 400,000. He didn't expect them to be rich enough to raise the price by 1 million. Master AI, Shi Jingxian said, "Can you bring the pills up first?" Yes, of course. AI Shengyao hurried up to the 3rd floor and placed the healing pill on the table. He seemed to understand the woman's intention and emphasized again, "Palace Lord Shi, the healing pill is only effective for channel opening realm and martial disciple realm cultivators." I understand, Shi Jingxian said. AI Shengyao didn't want to disturb her any further and quickly left. Can this seemingly ordinary pill really heal injuries in an instant? Lear questioned. Although Shi Jingxian was blind, she could feel the presence of the pill. She gently pinched the pill and murmured, "I hope a miracle happens." As she spoke, she gently opened her cherry lips and swallowed the pill. Unfortunately, even after the pill had taken effect in her body, her vision was still dark. Shi Jingxuan's expression was desolate. She lowered her head and said dejectedly, "It still doesn't work." Palace Lord, Leah hurriedly comforted her. Master AI said clearly that the pill is only effective for channel opening realm and martial disciple realm cultivators. It's reasonable that it can't heal your eyes. Yeah. A disciple agreed. Perhaps, Master AI will refine an even stronger pill. At that time, it will definitely be able to heal your eyes. Seeing their palace lord depressed again, the disciples of the Miaohua Palace became nervous again. That makes sense. Shi Jingxian raised her head and smiled brightly. Phew, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Jun Changshao, who was in the opposite room, murmured, "That woman should have already consumed the pill. She will definitely be disappointed if it doesn't work." Does it have anything to do with the sect master? Lu Qianqian suddenly asked. Jun Changshao was stunned. He said, "It doesn't seem to be related." Master AI returned to the auction stage and continued to host the auction. When the second pill was called out, the fifth-rate sect on the 3rd floor called out a bid of 400,000. The various forces that were about to open their mouths immediately stopped talking. They couldn't afford to offend a 4th-rate sect, nor could they afford to offend a 5th-rate sect. Master AI sighed inwardly when he saw that no one was bidding. He had already expected this result. So what if it was 400,000? After all, there was only one fourth-rate sect and two fifth-rate sect. Hongyan sect, for 100,000 going once. Hongyan sect, for 100,000 going twice. Hongyan sect, 400,000. Just as Master AI raised his hammer, a voice rang out from the third floor. 500,000. Gah! AI Shang's expression froze. Because the bidder was Sect Master Jun. Chapter 221. When Jun Changshao called out 500,000, AI Shang's heart skipped a beat. What was Sect leader Jun trying to do by bidding for a pill that he had refined himself? After all, he was a businessman. His brain worked quickly, and immediately realized that Jun Changshao was trying to raise the price. That's right. Jun Changshao was raising the price. How could he let someone take away the pill that he had painstakingly refined for 400,000? The system complained. Is it hard for the host to refine pills mechanically? Jun Changshao ignored the system and shifted his gaze to the Hongyan sect. He happened to meet the eyes of the elder who had called out the price, and a harmless smile appeared on his face. Despicable guy. Anger rose in the elder's heart. He had thought that he would definitely get the pill. But who would have thought that Iron Bone would suddenly appear, just as the deal was about to be closed? This was not a matter of money, but a matter of the sect's honor. Where did a small 8th-rate sect get the guts to compete with a 5th-rate sect? Because of Jun Changxiao's sudden bid, all the martial artists in the Bronze District looked over with playful smiles. Iron Bone dared to compete with the Hongyan sect. He was really something. Kid, the elder said in a low voice. Are you sure you want to compete with the Hongyan sect? This was obviously a warning to Iron Bone. Jun Changxiao shrugged and said, Isn't the rule of the auction house to bid? Does Jun not have the right to bid? That was true. But why didn't he see who he was bidding with? Was there something wrong with Iron Bone's head? Why couldn't he figure out such a simple thing? That's right, that's right. If he was in his right mind, why would he set a 1-year deal with the Sacred Spring sect? Thinking of this, the martial artist's smiles became even wider. They were very happy to see how Iron Bone would court death. Humph. The Hongyan sect elder snorted and said, 600,000. 700,000. Jun Changxiao said. Hearing that he continued to bid, the elder's eyes burned with anger. There were so many forces present. He was deliberately going against the Hongyan sect. Sect leader Jun, the elder said with a sullen face. The younger generation will surpass us in time. AI. Jun Changxiao said. I won't hide it from senior. There are injured people in the sect, so we must get the medicinal pills. Hearing this, the elder almost vomited blood. Why didn't you bid when the ingenious Flower Palace called out the price just now? Now that it's my Fortune sect's turn, you're pressuring us step by step. Do you think that 5th-rate sects are easier to bully than 4th-rate sects? 800,000, the elder of the Hongyan sect shouted. 900,000. Jun Changxiao raised the price again. The elder of the Hongyan sect narrowed his eyes and said, It seems that sect leader Jun is very rich. It's all right. Jun Changxiao shrugged and said, I earned 10 million from the Haoqi sect. I don't mind spending $1 million or so. The corners of the mouths of the various sects twitched. They had heard that the Haoqi sect won 10 million from gambling. To be honest, it was a lot of money. However, acting as if he didn't care about money in front of a 5th-rate sect was truly arrogant. Damn it! An 8th-rate sect dares to flaunt their wealth in front of me. 5 million. The Fortune sect master said in a deep voice. A sect had to have the dignity of a sect. If they wanted to raise the price, they had to be bold. I'll give up, Jun Changxiao said. Gah! The elder of the Hongyan sect looked dazed. How could he not bid? How could he give up? By calling out 5 million, he had raised the price. If Iron Bone continued to bid, he would give up. The elder of the Hongyan sect was not stupid. He definitely couldn't afford to buy a healing pill at a high price. Since that lad thought that he was rich, he had to make him spend more money to buy it. At most, he would bid for the next one. It was a pity. Jun Changxiao was not stupid either. He had deliberately raised the price. His ideal number was 1 million. He didn't expect that the other party would give up when he raised it to 1.5 million. It was all a trap. Hongyan Sect, Hongyan Sect, Hongyan Sect 1.5 million going thrice. Bam! The hammer struck the final bell. The elder of the Hongyan Sect was tricked by Jun Changshao. He bought the second healing pill at 1.5 million. He was furious. Ai Shang glanced at him and said, Sect leader Jun, aren't you afraid of offending a fifth-rate sect? The auction continued. The starting price of the third healing pill was still 300,000. The Raindrop Pavilion, another fifth-rate sect that had been silent, called out 400,000. Without a doubt, no one dared to bid. At the same time, they all looked at the room where Ironbone was thinking, is this lad going to bid? 500,000, Jun Changshao said. Sure enough, this lad was challenging the fifth-rate sects again. 600,000. The young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion said indifferently, Lad, first you bid with the Hongyan Sect, and now you're bidding with the Raindrop Pavilion. Have you eaten the guts of a leopard? 700,000, Jun Changshao said. 800,000. 900,000. 1 million. The young pavilion master was in his early 20s. He was in the prime of his life. How could he tolerate the arrogance of a sixth-rate sect? Give up. After reaching the price of 1 million, Jun Changshao gave up decisively. The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. At this moment, they realized that this lad was deliberately raising the price. The Hongyan Sect and the Raindrop Pavilion naturally saw it too. The disciples in the room glared at him. Jun Changshao did not care. These were all forces from outside the county. It was hard to say if he would meet them after the auction. If he offended them, so be it. Not to mention, it was just bidding for elixirs. If they cared about such a small amount of money, they would be narrow-minded. The two fifth-rate sects naturally did not care about a few 100,000 taels. What they cared about was this lad's malicious bidding. However, when the price of the fourth healing elixir began, Jun Changshao spoke first. 400,000. He was using his actions to tell the martial artists present that he really wanted to bid, and was not deliberately causing trouble. The opportunity was here. The young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion immediately shouted, 500,000. Lad, you made me spend an extra 600,000 taels. How can I not pay a little to take it away? Young pavilion master. A disciple reminded, we just bought one. According to the auction house's rules, if you take it for 500,000, you have to pay 1 million taels of silver. The young pavilion master said, I just raised the price casually. If that lad follows, he will definitely give up. 600,000. 700,000. 800,000. 900,000. After shouting this price, the young pavilion master was ready to give up because the meaning was very simple. If I spend 1 million, you have to spend 100. Give up. Gah. The young pavilion master was in a daze, and then roared in his heart. How can he give up? Pa. The AI family head said. The Raindrop Pavilion bid 1 million for the fourth healing elixir. According to the rules, you have to pay 2 million. Everyone's mouth twitched violently. They all knew that the young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion deliberately raised the price, and was tragically tricked. TSK. Jun Changshao sat in the room, crossed his legs and said indifferently, You want to fight with me? You are still too inexperienced. Despicable guy. The young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion was so angry that he clenched the armrest. The auction continued. In order to show that he was really bidding, after the AI family head shouted the price, Jun Changshao immediately said, 400,000. 50W. The young pavilion master raised the price again. He had to trick that guy once. Otherwise, how could he live up to his identity as the young pavilion master of a fifth-rate sect? Give up. Gah. The young pavilion master was in a daze. This guy gave up way too quickly. Chapter 222. Dong. The gavel closed. Patriarch AI said loudly. The Raindrop Pavilion bid 500,000 for the fifth healing pill. According to the rules, you have to pay 1 million. The young pavilion master was trembling with anger. Although the healing pill's effect was strong, It was only limited to Meridian Opening and Martial Disciple. It was too much for him to buy 3 at once. Moreover, because of that guy, he had to spend 4 million. Jun Changshao laughed and said, "The child of a rich guy, he's really generous with his money." Lu Qianqian, as the sect leader, "I'm really good at cheating people." Next, Patriarch AI continued to auction the healing pills. Jun Changshao bid 400,000 as usual. The young pavilion master, who had been cheated 3 times, did not dare to continue. If he did not play, others did not dare to play either. They were afraid that they would be cheated by this guy. Dong! The AI family's patriarch announced that Jun Changshao had bought the healing pill for 400,000 yuan. The money would definitely not be paid. The AI family would also keep it for the next auction. Therefore, both parties did not suffer any losses. The 7th healing pill was auctioned. Jun Changshao stopped bidding. The 6th and 7th rate sects began to fight. The final price was set at 800,000. It was a normal price. The remaining 13 pills were bought by various forces, for a total of more than 10 million. On average, the price was around 800,000. It was a new high. This was just the appetizer. The next 5 body-shaping pills were the most important. 2 fifth-rate sects had traveled thousands of miles, just for this kind of pill. Everyone. After a short break, Patriarch AI took out the pills and said, "This is the body-shaping pill that can strengthen the body. The starting price for the first pill is 2 million. Many martial artists in the Bronze District twitched their mouths. As expected, the price was higher than the previous auction, 2,100,000. The Fortune Sect's elder was the first to bid, 2,200,000. The young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion followed. The 2 sects had reached a tacit agreement and did not bid for the healing pills. However, they would fight for the body-shaping pills. After all, there were only 5 of them. 2,300,000. 2,400,000. Watching them fight, Jun Changshao was amused. In the end, after a round of competition, the first molding pill was won by the pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion at a price of 5 million. 6th and 7th rate sects also participated in the auction, but they withdrew after the price reached 4 million. The big sects were just rich. They couldn't compare to them. The second body sculpting pill was also a fierce battle between 2 fifth-rate sections. In the end, it was won by the Fortune Sect for 5 million. Initially, he thought that the 2 sects would stop fighting. Who would have thought that the pills would continue to fight? The 6th and 7th rate sects could only sigh as they watched the price rise. In the end, the 5 body sculpting pills were divided between the Fortune Sect and Raindrop Pavilion. The former bought 2 for 11 million, while the latter bought 3 for 16 million. Tsk tisk. Jun Changshao said, "The sects from other counties are indeed rich." AI Shang was unable to contain his joy. In this auction, he had expected the total price to be around 30 million. But in the end, he had sold it for nearly 40 million. Everyone. The AI family's patriarch cupped his hands and said, "This auction has come to an end. Please come again next time." Gone. The martial artists of the Bronze District began to leave in an orderly manner. On the way, they were all talking about the auction. As expected of a 5th-rate sect, they didn't think about money at all. It's a pity that the 4th-rate Miaohua Palace didn't participate. Otherwise, the 3 parties would have fought fiercely. In my opinion, the Palace Lord of Miaohua Palace came this time only for the healing pill. I wonder if it can cure her eye disease. The AI family's patriarch repeatedly emphasized that the pill is only effective for Meridian Opening martial disciples. Palace Lord Shi's cultivation base is at least Wuzong. It shouldn't be effective. Let's go. Jun Changshao left the room and happened to bump into the Raindrop Pavilion's young pavilion master, who was walking behind him. "Sect Master Jun," the young pavilion master said coldly, "You're quite bold." Jun Changshao said, "Since it's an auction, it's only interesting if we bid together." With that, he left with Lu Qianqian. Despicable guy. Although the young pavilion master was very angry, he didn't have any other thoughts. For example, he wanted to cause trouble. It was just an auction. It would be beneath his status to cause trouble out of anger. Jun Changshao came to the staircase. Just as he was about to go down, he saw Shi Jingxian walking over with the help of a disciple. The woman's eyes were still empty. She shook her head and walked down with Lu Qianqian. Sect Master Jun, AI Shunka stood at the staircase on the first floor and said, "Please follow me to the VIP area." Jun Changshao knew that the AI family wanted to split the money with him. If it was 40 million, he would get 16 million taels. As expected, after sending all the major sects away, AI Shunka entered the VIP area and directly gave 20 million taels. AI family's patriarch, Jun Changshao said in surprise, "Isn't it 40-60? You gave a bit too much." AI Shunka smiled and said, "Round it up, round it up." The AI family only did publicity and made more than 10 million taels. They definitely wouldn't be greedy and take 60%. Jun won't be polite. Jun Changshao accepted the money and took out 50 healing pills and 10 body-shaping pills, saying, "Jun is very satisfied with the cooperation with the AI family. Please help me sell these pills." AI Shunka was overjoyed. Sect Master Jun gave more and more pills each time, which meant that he trusted him and the AI family more and more. AI family head, Jun Changshao said, "Does your AI family accept crystal cores?" After training in Death Valley, he obtained a lot of crystal cores. He kept the high-quality ones for his own use and planned to sell the low-quality ones. AI Shunka said, "Although my AI family is involved in crystal cores, it can't compare to professional crystal core shops. The AI clan specialized in medicinal pills and herbs, but their other businesses were more ordinary." Jun Changshao said, "I have some crystal cores here. If AI family head likes them, we can make another deal." AI Shunka smiled and said, "No problem." In order to win over this god of fortune, even if he had to sell it, he would definitely buy it. Chua. Jun Changshao waved his hand and crystal cores of different colors were neatly arranged on the table. AI family head. He said, "There aren't many, only 500 or so. You can name the price." AI family head's eyes widened. 500 or so crystal cores are not many. How much is considered many? AI family head picked up a red crystal core and said in surprise, "Sect Master Jun, this is a red flame wolf's crystal core." "Yes," Jun Changshao said. AI Shunka said solemnly, "Red flame wolves only exist in Death Valley. Did Sect Master Jun go in?" "Yes," Jun Changshao said. "Not long ago, I brought my disciples in for training." AI Shunka was shocked. No wonder he wasn't in the sect the last time. He brought his disciples to Death Valley to train. "Wait," AI Shunka said in surprise. "Sect Master Jun, you got all these crystal cores in Death Valley?" "Yes," Jun Changshao said. AI Shunka didn't say anything. His heart was in turmoil. Not every beast had a crystal core. Sect Master Jun took out 500 of them. How many did he kill in there? Not many. He killed almost all of them. AI Shunka checked the level of the crystal cores one by one. When he finished checking all 500 of them, the shock in his heart became stronger. The crystal cores in there were not only comparable to those of peak martial masters, but also many types of ferocious beasts. Without enough people and strength, it was impossible to exterminate such a group of ferocious beasts. Even if Qin Haoran went in with the sect's elites, it would be impossible. Sect Master Jun's iron bone was really amazing. Sect Master Jun, after thinking for a while, AI family head said, "My AI family is willing to buy these crystal cores for 10 million. There were many low-grade crystal cores. For example, the Earth Flame Wolf's crystal core was worth at most 1,000 taels. However, there were also many mid-grade ones. If Sect Master Jun took out the high-grade crystal cores, AI family head would probably use all the money he just earned to buy them." Okay. The two went through the procedure and signed. When Jun Changshao put the 10 million taels of silver into his spatial ring, a beautiful system notification sounded in his ears. Ding! Congratulations to host for completing the hidden mission, Gold and Jade Pile. You have gained 200 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 2851000. Ding! Congratulations to host for completing the hidden mission Gold and Jade Pile. You have triggered the hidden reward. The storage of the spatial ring has increased by 5 times. Chapter 223. Piling up gold and jade meant that one had enough wealth. After splitting the profits in crystal cores, Jun Changxia's wealth had reached 50 million. Therefore, he had fulfilled the system's requirement and completed the hidden mission. Sigh. Looks like I have to think about idioms when I have time. Maybe I can complete some hidden missions related to idioms. Jun Changxiao's mind entered the interspatial ring and found that the storage space inside had increased by a lot. The interspatial ring was a gift from the activation system. The storage space was not small to begin with. Now that it had increased by 5 times, it could be considered large. It has expanded by a lot. It will be more comfortable to store things in the future. Jun Changxiao said, Patriarch AI, does your AI clan sell spirit stones? This? AI Shang shook his head and said, my AI clan does not have a spirit stone business. It was not that they did not want to, but that they could not. This was because this business was monopolized by large business empires. More importantly, spirit masters that could refine spirit stones were too rare. Even if the AI clan wanted to open a spirit stone store, they would not be able to hire anyone. All right. Jun Changxiao stood up and cupped his hands. Patriarch AI, Jun still has something to do. I will take my leave first. Under the escort of Patriarch AI, he left the auction house with Lu Qianqian. They did not return to the sect directly. Instead, they went to the market. In the most prosperous area of the market in Huyang City, there was a luxuriously decorated shop with the words Tangji Spirit Stone Store written on the signboard. Tangji referred to the Tang clan. It was one of the top clans in the Falling Star continent. At the same time, it was a business clan that was as rich as a country. The Spirit Stone stores in the 8 cities of Qingyang County, they were all opened by the Tang clan. A business clan like the AI clan was not even worth mentioning in front of the Tang clan. Fortunately, the Tang clan mainly focused on spirit stones and did not invest much in elixirs and herbs. This allowed the AI clan to occupy nearly 60% of the market in Qingyang County. Tangji was the only spirit stone store in Huyang City. Jun Changxiao could only come here if he wanted to buy spirit stones. After bringing Lu Qianqian in, he spent 10 million taels to exchange for 1,000 crystal cores. He had a lot of money and did not lack high-grade crystal cores. Buying spirit stones was the wisest choice. Tsk tisk. After watching him leave, the Tangji shopkeeper said in surprise, this Iron Bone sect leader is really rich. A cultivator who was exchanging spirit stones joked, just now at the auction house, Sect Master Jun even dared to show off his wealth in front of 2 fifth-rate sections. The Fortune Sect and Raindrop Listening Pavilion are both famous sects. They wouldn't bother with a low-grade sect. If it was any other sect, they would definitely be in trouble. Don't worry. When he goes to the Sacred Spring sect, he will definitely be in trouble. These mocking martial artists were from the 100 Sect Alliance. As long as they had the chance, they would definitely mock Iron Bone. After leaving the Spirit Stone shop, Jun Changxiao walked around the market and bought a lot of different quality ores for 1,000,000 yuan. The materials could wait for the refinement process, but the refinement process could not wait for the materials. Therefore, it was better to prepare for a rainy day. I have to buy some ingredients for Dudu. Jun Changxiao went to the grocery store and bought a lot of condiments, rice, and vegetable seeds. After everything was settled, he brought Lu Qianqian back home. The trip to the auction house had earned him a lot of money, and he had also witnessed the wealth of a large sect. They did not even blink when auctioning off millions of yuan. With money, one could really do whatever they wanted. Sect Master. On the way, Lu Qianqian asked, when are we going to destroy Black Eagle Hall? Jun Changxiao might have forgotten about this matter, but she would always remember it in her heart. Let's talk about it when we return to the sect. Sect Master. Are you going to bring junior brothers to destroy Black Eagle Hall? Otherwise, that is an evil sect. Their methods are cruel. Why not just the 2 of us? Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. Although he did not put Black Eagle Hall in his eyes, it was still a 7th-rate sect. It was too disrespectful to destroy it with just the 2 of them. Lu Qianqian asked, Sect Master, are you afraid? I'm not afraid, Jun Changshao said. I feel that this is a rare experience. Bringing the disciples can help them adapt to the cruel world. Okay. Lu Qianqian did not say anything else. She only gave her opinion at the appropriate time. The sect master had his own ideas and would definitely not object. This was Lu Qianqian. Although she was cold all day, as a member of the Iron Bone, she would definitely listen to the sect master's orders. In the evening, Jun Changshao returned to the sect. The disciples were still cultivating as usual. He first handed the ingredients to Lu Wanshi, then summoned Li Qingyang, and told him about the plan to destroy Black Eagle Hall. Sect Master, Li Qingyang said solemnly, the idea of destroying Black Eagle Hall is a bit bold. However, he paused and said, this kind of evil sect is indeed very dangerous. Since they have a grudge with the Iron Bone, they will come to us sooner or later. Agreed? This disciple will do whatever the sect master says. Li Qingyang and Lu Qianqian were the same. Ever since they became Iron Bone disciples, they followed the sect master's lead and would never disobey him. Jun Changshao said, go and inform the disciples who are training in Death Valley to gather at the inner yard martial arts practice field tomorrow morning. Yes. Li Qingyang left. Jun Changshao summoned Li Luoqiu and told her about the idea of destroying Black Eagle Hall. He also ordered her to gather the members of the Drizzle Hall to go with them. Destroying a seventh-rate sect was not a child's play. Bringing the members of the Drizzle Hall there would undoubtedly be a lot of protection. Li Luoqiu, who used to be an assassin, was definitely interested in killing people. So she said, I'll take them and go first. Okay. Jun Changshao nodded. That night, Li Luoqiu left with Viper Lynx and 50 members. During this period of time, although they mainly investigated for information, they did not neglect their cultivation. With the help of the molding pill and the molding room, their strength had increased significantly. Viper and Lynx had also successfully entered rank 1 martial master from peak martial disciple. If they were still assassins, it would be difficult for them to improve. Hall Master. On the way, Viper said, brothers, we've been bored to death. This time we can finally exercise our muscles and bones. Li Luoqiu said with a serious expression. Black Eagle Hall is an evil sect. It's not a small matter. Everyone be serious. Okay. Viper nodded. Also, Li Luoqiu added, we're now Iron Bone disciples. What we do is for the sect. Don't act recklessly when you're on the move. Listen to orders. Yes. The members of the Drizzle Hall said in unison. Swoosh. Swoosh. Under the night, more than 50 ghosts, like members of the Drizzle Hall, shuttled through the forest and headed towards Huaying County at full speed. Finally, we can show off. Li Tiantian also followed. Although he was only a rank 2 martial disciple, under Hall Master Li's dozens of days of training, he had already grasped many assassin skills. Especially after adapting to the cruel training. In order to become stronger, he would often train in the body technique training room for most of the night. Jun Changshao provided a lot of resources for the disciples. Although their spirit roots were not as good, as long as they were willing to work hard, they would definitely become stronger. Sect Master. Li Tiantian used ghostly steps and followed the group. He said in his heart, you gave me a pair of wings. I will prove to you that I, Li Tiantian, can definitely ascend to the heavens. Aya aya. Viper pulled his ear and said, little brat, what are you thinking? Hurry up and don't fall behind. Brother Snake. Li Tiantian grimaced and said, can you be gentler? Viper let go of his hand and reprimanded. As an assassin, when you're on the move, you can't be distracted. I know, Li Tiantian said. Other than the first day where Hall Master Li personally trained, Viper was in charge of the rest. Although he scolded him a lot in his heart, he was still very grateful. Because without such a strict instructor, he wouldn't have his current achievements. Brother Snake. Li Tiantian grinned and said, when we reach Black Eagle Hall, I'll show you. Forget it. Viper curled his lips and joked. Just don't drag me down when the time comes. Chapter 224. The next day, Jun Changshao arranged everything and set off with Li Qingyang and the others. After 3 days of traveling, they entered the territory of Huaying County and were ordered to change into black clothes. To deal with a righteous sect like the Haoqi sect, they could openly challenge them. To deal with an evil sect like the Black Eagle Hall, they naturally had to use another method. What method? That would be to use sneak attacks and backstabbing. If it weren't for the fact that the opening talisman was too precious, and they were only willing to use it in times of danger. Otherwise, sect leader Jun wouldn't have gone through so much trouble and directly dragged a 40-meter-long broadsword into the Black Eagle Hall. Sect leader. After changing into black clothes, Yi Xingchen said lightly, "It's just to destroy a seventh-rate sect. Why bring so many people? I can handle it alone." Night Emperor was still so strong. Not to mention that during this period of time, his physical strength had obviously improved a lot after tempering his body in the Tower of Experience. The muscles in his chest, abdomen, and arms bulged, but they weren't at an explosive level. Instead, they were very uniform and perfect. It wasn't just the physical body that improved. Yi Xingchen's cultivation didn't go to waste. After returning for more than half a month, he also stepped into the peak of the martial disciple realm. When he was just reborn, Li Qingyang already had the cultivation of a martial disciple after participating in the sect competition. Now Yi Xingchen caught up and broke through to the peak of the martial disciple realm faster than him. What did this mean? As expected of the reborn martial emperor? Wrong, because the Taishan Sutra above the divine level was indeed very mysterious. It was one of the two mantras left by the Taishan elder. Yi Xingchen had been comprehending it since his rebirth. Although he had only comprehended the second level, he had benefited a lot. Otherwise, he wouldn't have broken through so quickly. Based on the current situation, it was worth it to die for this thing. What was more worth it was that he was forced to join the Iron Bone, and had all kinds of resources. According to the plot of a normal novel, after the rebirth of a martial emperor, he would either enter a school or a sect. He would have all kinds of competitions for fun. He would have to beat the younger ones, and the older ones would come. Every day, he would either step on the face of the villain, or step on the road to face of the villain. What about our Night Emperor? If he joined Ironbone, he would be able to get resources if he performed well. He didn't even have to go to all kinds of competitions or face smacking villains. He could cultivate happily and live a very comfortable life. Xiao Ziji was the same. After joining Ironbone, with the resources provided by the sect leader, there was no need for him to walk the bumpy path of becoming the main character. All he had to do was focus on cultivating and becoming stronger. This made things difficult for Jun Changxiao. As the leader of a sect, if he wanted the sect and his disciples to become stronger, he could only continue to earn money to support his family. Sigh. It was hard to be the main character, but it was even harder to be the sect leader. Yi Xingchen would not be satisfied with the current situation. He still had a vengeance to take, so he needed to obtain more resources to improve himself. That was why he had volunteered to destroy the Black Eagle Hall. It was a pity. Even if Night Emperor really had the ability to annihilate a seventh-rate sect, Jun Changxiao wouldn't let him go alone. After all, the other disciples also needed to gain experience. There was a mountain in Huaying County. Because eagle beasts circled around it all year round, it was called the Black Eagle Mountain. 100 years ago, an evil cultivator accidentally passed by this place. Seeing that it was full of spiritual energy, he set up a sect here and created the Black Eagle Hall. Because he walked the evil path, the Black Eagle Hall went from a non-rated sect to a seventh-rated sect in a short period of time. To achieve this in 100 years was really commendable. A few decades ago, the first hall master left the sect in pursuit of a higher realm. His eldest disciple Lai Haisha succeeded him as the second hall master. Lai Haisha was a ruthless and cruel person. He often robbed other forces and itinerant cultivators, so the sect developed even faster. Black Eagle Mountain. The mountains were connected and undulating. The valley at the waist of the mountain seemed to have been split open by a giant axe, and the river water rushed in aggressively. At the top of the mountain, there were large and small buildings arranged. That was the headquarters of the Black Eagle Hall. At this moment, in the main hall of the Black Eagle Hall, the hall master Lai Haisha was sitting at the head of the table, a strong murderous intent between his brows. Vice Hall Master He Qing brought more than 60 disciples to Death Valley to train for more than half a month, and did not return. He felt that something was wrong, and sent people to investigate. The news came early this morning. Vice Hall Master He came to Death Valley, and learned from the itinerant cultivators that Iron Bone came out from there. He brought his men and chased after them. Then they lost contact. Hall Master. Another Vice Hall Master read the letter and said, Vice Hall Master, he has not returned yet. I'm afraid he met with an accident. Iron Bone definitely has something to do with it. Crack. The ruthless and cruel Lai Haisha crushed the teacup, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Gather the brothers and follow me to Iron Bone. It was really as Jun Changshao thought. This kind of evil sect, as long as they suspected him, would not ask for any evidence, and would bring people to kill him. Yes. The Vice Hall Master hurriedly left. Humph. Lai Haisha's murderous intent became more and more intense and said, Iron Bone dares to kill my people, then there is no need for it to exist. It was obvious that he was going to exterminate the sect. Hall Master. Sitting at the head of the table, a middle-aged man with a goatee wearing a long robe said with a serious expression, This Iron Bone is not simple. His name was Yang Ji. His cultivation was not high, but he was the military advisor of Black Eagle Hall. Robberies and whatnot were all arranged and planned by him. After doing so many robberies, he rarely failed. Oh, Lai Haisha said. How is it not simple? Yang Ji said. As far as I know, this Iron Bone went to challenge Vast Chi Sect some time ago. Lai Haisha was stunned and said in surprise, Is this sect also a sixth-rate sect? They dare to challenge a sixth-rate sect? If it was a sixth-rate sect, they had to be careful. They could not rush over so impulsively. They had to play dirty. Yang Ji said, Iron Bone is a ninth. Oh no, an eighth-rate sect that just recently advanced. What? Lai Haisha's eyes widened and said, A newly advanced eighth-rate sect wants to challenge a sixth-rate sect like Vast Chi Sect. Yang Ji said, I went to the city to buy things, and when I heard the news, I found it hard to believe. Lai Haisha laughed. They dared to challenge Qin Haoran. They must have been beaten to a pulp. Exactly the opposite. Yang Ji said. The ones who were beaten were Qin Haoran and his personal disciples. The details were unknown. After all, this happened in Azure Sun County, and the only way to find out was through hearsay. Bullshit. Lai Haisha slammed the table. How can a bullshit eighth-rate sect beat Qin Haoran? Mr. Yang must have heard rumors. Hall Master. Yang Ji said seriously. This might not be groundless. I think that since we are going to deal with Iron Bone, we have to think about it carefully. We cannot act rashly. Lai Haisha trusted him a lot, because most of the time, his advice was very important, and he had prevented many casualties during robberies. Mr. Yang, he said, in your opinion, what should we do? Yang Ji said, as of now, we can't be sure if Iron Bone is the culprit. We can send people to use the blood recognition art to confirm if they have the blood of Vice Hall Master He and the others. What if they do? Lai Haisha said. Yang Ji narrowed his small eyes and said coldly, we can block Iron Bone outside and kill every disciple that comes out. Let them die with grievances. If Jun Changshao heard this, he would definitely take out the Desert Eagle and shoot him, because he hated such tricks the most. Okay. Lai Haisha said, let the hunting team go. With their strength, they should be able to cause a ruckus in Iron Bone. The so-called blood recognition art was a rather evil technique. As for the hunting team, it was the elite department of Black Eagle Hall. Hall Master Lai sent them, and once they confirmed the blood of the Vice Hall Master, they would use all kinds of cruel methods. Unfortunately, while the two of them were discussing here, at the foot of the mountain, Jun Changshao had already met up with Li Luoqiu, who had arrived first, and began to plan to destroy Black Eagle Hall. Chapter 225. Li Luoqiu came to the Black Eagle Mountain a day earlier, and made a mark on the road. She successfully met up with Jun Changshao later. During this period, she explored the terrain of the Black Eagle Mountain, and made a simple terrain. There were specializations in this field. If it was our Knight Emperor, he would definitely not be able to do it. Jun Changshao carefully observed the terrain of the Black Eagle Mountain and began to think about how to destroy the Black Eagle Hall. Take the disciples and kill them? Only someone with a screw loose would do such a thing. After a long time, Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "We don't know if there are any traps in the Black Eagle Mountain. Guard this only intersection and sneak out." This guy thought the same as Yang Ji, squatting at the entrance of other people's territory to play tricks. Li Luoqiu said, "It has been more than half a month since the leader killed the Black Eagle Hall. They should have already begun to investigate. If they get the news, they will definitely take action. Hiding at the intersection and sneak attack is the safest way." She had long been equipped with a Type 88 sniper rifle and naturally hoped to sneak in. After careful consideration, Jun Changshao immediately ordered the disciples to guard the only entrance and exit of the Black Eagle Mountain. The members of the Drizzle Hall led by Li Luoqiu formed a group, lurking on the right, and setting up the Type 88 sniper rifle. Jun Changshao was in charge of the left side and ordered Xiao Ziji to stand on the tallest tree, and also set up the Type 88 sniper rifle. Unfortunately, there were no Italian cannons. Otherwise, standing at the foot of the mountain and directly bombarding the headquarters of the Black Eagle Hall would be really cool. Viper and more than 10 members lurked 200 meters above. "Brother Snake." Li Tian also followed and nervously whispered, Are we going to kill someone?" Hiding in the dark, Brother Snake kicked his leg and whispered, "Don't fucking tremble, go to the tree and observe." Li Tian jumped to the tree, his legs still trembling, so he said with a bitter face, "I don't want to, but I can't control myself." Even though he was a native of the Falling Star continent, he had only killed chickens and ducks in his life. He had never killed a human before. He might have been arrogant when he first arrived, but when it came to the battlefield, his legs would definitely go limp. Zhang Wei and the others had been training in Death Valley and had only killed ferocious beasts, so they were a little nervous. Among the disciples present, Yi Xingchen was the calmest because he had killed too many people in his previous life. The reason why Jun Changshao brought them here was to temper their temperament so that they could adapt to the cruelty of this world. They were not like a bunch of greenhouse flowers who only knew how to cultivate in a sect. Sect leader. On the tree, Xiao Ziji leaned his eyes against the 8x scope and whispered, "Someone is coming down from the mountain." "How much?" Jun Changshao asked. Xiao Ziji kept his eyes on the mountain gate of Black Eagle Hall and said, "About 100 or so." "So many?" Jun Changshao stroked his chin and murmured, "Could it be that they've found out that their companions have been killed and are now going after my iron bone?" Sect leader. Li Luoqiu also saw them through the 8x scope and whispered, "These people's footsteps are steady. They shouldn't be weak. Give me the gun." Shwa. Xiao Ziji habitually handed over the Type 88 sniper rifle. Jun Changshao put on his dazzling sunglasses and relied on the 8x scope to spy on the strength of the group of people. Among these 100 Black Eagle Hall disciples, the lowest was a level 5 martial disciple. Among them, there were more than 20 peak martial disciples and 2 level 1 martial masters. TSK. Jun Changshao whispered, "They're quite strong." More than 100 people, and the lowest was a level 5 martial disciple. They were definitely going to cause trouble. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made such a big move. Sect leader. Li Luoqiu had been observing and said, "They're going to the iron bone." "Huh." Jun Changshao said, "How do you know?" Li Luoqiu smiled and said, "As a professional killer, knowing how to read lips is very important." Damn it. At such a long distance, through the 8x scope, reading the lip movements when they spoke, this was too professional. Viper, Lynx, and the others were envious. In the Drizzle building, the boss was the only one who could read lips. They had learned it before, but they couldn't grasp the essentials. On the stone steps on the mountainside, the leader of the hunting group walked in front, and the deputy leader and a group of members followed closely behind. Because they were going to investigate first, they weren't in a hurry. "Big brother," the deputy leader said disdainfully, Isn't it a bit of a fuss for the boss to send us to investigate an 8th-rate sect? Yes, a member said. Our hunting group fought with a 6th-rate sect in the past. Now we're going to investigate a small iron bone. Isn't it overkill? The leader was also unhappy but said, don't complain. Since the boss gave the order, our hunting group must complete it smoothly. Big brother, the deputy leader said. The boss said that as long as we confirm the deputy leader's blood, we can take action. In my opinion, when the time comes, we should kill Iron Bone directly. There's no need to play tricks outside. Mr. Yang said that Iron Bone isn't simple. It's better for us to be cautious, the leader said seriously. Tisk. Which Mr. Yang again? The deputy leader, and the others were full of contempt and disdain. Evil sect martial cultivators were particular about brutality and killing. They hated people who had to think twice about everything. If it wasn't for the fact that the hall leader trusted him, he wouldn't have listened to his orders before every operation. Hee. A member laughed evilly and said, Big brother, I heard that the girls in Azure Sun County are very beautiful. Iron Bone must have a lot of female disciples. Ha ha ha. Another member joked. Buttface, you haven't even gone down the mountain, and you're already thinking about women. Buttface is full of fire. If he doesn't see a woman for a day, he'll jump over the wall. In my opinion, if he doesn't control his desires, he'll die in the hands of women sooner or later. Everyone made fun of him. The member called Buttface shouted, Isn't there a good saying? If I die in the hands of a peony, I'll be a romantic ghost. I like women, and I'm happy to die in the hands of women. The leader laughed and said, We haven't done anything for a while, and we've been holding back for a long time. When we confirm that Iron Bone is the murderer, you can vent on their female disciples. Buttface's eyes flashed with a wicked light. The other members who liked women were also looking forward to it. Therefore, on the way down the mountain, the conversation revolved around women in Azure Sun County and Iron Bone's female disciples. After deciphering every word they said, Liluacio's seductive eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent and said, Today, all of you will die. Jun Changsha was also looking through the 8x scope. Although he didn't activate the enhancement mode and couldn't eavesdrop on their conversation, he could tell from their wretched smiles that they were definitely talking shamelessly. From Li Luacio's tone, he could tell that they were talking about his Iron Bone. Therefore, his gaze became cold and fierce as he said, Let them down and kill them all. The disciples received the order and started to mobilize their spiritual energy. Li Yuhua and some of the disciples summoned their iron shields and overlord spears. The members of the Drizzle Hall, who were hiding in the dark, also held all kinds of hidden weapons in their hands. As long as this group of people entered their attack range, they would mercilessly attack them. The atmosphere became austere. The members of the hunting team, who came down from the mountain, obviously didn't expect that there would be an ambush at their door. They were still talking about women without restraint, and because they were getting closer and closer, unbearable words were heard. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Qianqian's bright eyes were cold, and she started to gather cold air in her hands. At this moment, the leader seemed to have noticed something. He looked at the bushes on the right side of the stairs and said coldly, Someone's there. The members who were still smiling wretchedly instantly became serious. They all looked over and locked their eyes on Li Tian, who was squatting on a tree and trembling. Damn it! Viper, who was hiding in the dark, was having a mental breakdown and said, This is a stupid teammate. Chapter 226. Li Tian, who was on his first mission, was too nervous. His legs trembled uncontrollably, especially when he saw the group of vicious hunting team members coming down the mountain path. His nervousness and apprehension became even stronger. In the end, he was exposed. Viper, who was hiding nearby, was roaring in his heart. What kind of people did I train? He exposed himself before he even entered the ambush. The team leader looked at Li Tian and said coldly, Kill him. Swish, swish, swish. As soon as he finished speaking, the hunting team members had already waved their arms. All kinds of hidden weapons shot out with streaks of light. Li Tian, who was already nervous, suddenly turned pale. His mind went blank, and all his escape skills flew to the sky. He just stood on the tree like a fool, completely forgetting to hide. Swish! Venomous snake leaped from another tree and kicked the trembling Li Tiantian down. Poochie! Poochie! More than 10 hidden weapons nailed him in an instant, and he fell to the ground with a ferocious expression. Li Tiantian, who staggered and fell, finally regained his senses. But when he saw Viper land in front of him with hidden weapons on his back and blood spurting out, he said in horror, "Brother! Brother Snake! What a fucking pig of a teammate!" Viper endured the excruciating pain and roared, "Let's go!" This voice was like a blow to the head, instantly waking Li Tiantian, who was at a loss. Just as he was about to stand up, the deputy team leader strode over with a pitch-black whip in his hand. "How dare you hide in my Black Eagle Hall's territory? You must be tired of living." Smack! The long whip lashed out and hit Viper's back directly. His clothes were torn, and a deep red whip mark appeared, causing his expression to turn ferocious. "Run! Run!" Viper roared in pain, as if he had used up the last of his strength. On the way to Huaiying County, he had joked that he should not be dragged down by this kid. Now it seemed that his mouth had been blessed. Looking at Brother Snake's painful appearance, and the blood that kept spurting out, Li Tiantian clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails dug into his flesh. "You bunch of brats, listen carefully. As an assassin, no matter how dangerous the situation is, you must remain absolutely calm. If your companions are in danger, the first thing you should do is to ensure your own safety. Don't be rash and try to rescue them. That will only cause both of you to fall into an irrecoverable situation. Let me emphasize it again. The rule of an assassin is that once your whereabouts are exposed, you must escape at once without any hesitation." The words that Viper had once taught him, and the others kept ringing in his ears, causing him to calm down. Don't panic, don't panic. The only thing he could do now was to run away. Li Tiantian's legs no longer trembled, and he stood up with a swoosh. His killer skills that had flown up to the 9 heavens returned to his body, allowing him to use ghostly leap. Shwa! He spread his legs like a ghost. However, Li Tiantian did not follow the assassin's rules. He didn't run away. Instead, he rushed forward with large strides and picked up Viper, as the deputy team leader waved his whip. Pa! The long whip lashed out, but it hit empty air. Li Tiantian hugged the poisonous snake and ran away like a wild horse. On the way, his tears fell like rain as he cried loudly, "Brother Snake, I was wrong. Brother Snake, don't die." Because he ran too fast and didn't care about Brother Snake's injuries, he directly bumped him until he vomited blood. In the end, he rolled his eyes and fainted. "Don't let him escape," the team leader shouted. Swoosh! 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 More than 10 members of the hunting group shot out their hidden weapons wildly. Li Tiantian, who was only a second-grade martial disciple, seemed to have ignited a small universe. He ran in all kinds of coquettish ways, causing people's scalps to tingle. The hidden weapons flew past him again and again. If they were not nailed to a tree, they were nailed to a rock and bounced off. Damn it! A member used his movement technique and overtook Li Tiantian around the bend. The sharp sword in his hand shone with the support of spiritual energy. Die! When Li Tiantian was forced to come over, he raised his hand and slashed. Bang! A stream of light shot from the side and directly pierced through his temple. Blood sprayed a few meters and splashed on Li Tiantian's face, who happened to be running over. It was a little hot, a little hot. Ah! Li Tiantian screamed. He ignited a small universe for the second time and fled frantically. This wronged Viper who was being held. He had already fainted and was still vomiting blood from the bumps. If he was awake, he would definitely say, "I can still be saved." Little 7. Seeing their subordinate's head being shot through, the team leader and deputy team leader roared angrily. Bang! At this moment, one of their subordinates was shot through the head and fell straight to the ground. Whoosh! 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 In the distance, Li Luochio stood on a tree and fired 3 more shots in succession, killing another 3 targets. With a shooting talent that was not inferior to Xiao Ziji's, coupled with the 8x scope and silencer, She was very good at sneaking up on people. Big brother, the deputy team leader exclaimed. What kind of hidden weapon is this? Although the team leader was furious, he still ordered. There are still people in the dark. Everyone be careful. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Dozens of black shadows scuttled over from both sides like a group of ghosts. Jun Changxiao's plan was to wait for these people to come down the mountain and ambush them at the intersection. However, Li Tiantian was exposed in advance, so they could only carry out the plan of annihilation on the mountain path. Whoosh! Whoosh! On the other side, Xiao Ziji continuously pulled the trigger. Only the sound of wind breaking could be heard. One by one, the members of the hunting team were killed on the ground. Against high-level beasts, the Type 88 sniper rifle's power was limited. However, against a group of martial disciples, it could really kill anyone. Following Xiao Ziji and Li Luoqiu's continuous kills, the members of the hunting team suddenly became confused. After all, this kind of hidden weapon that appeared and disappeared mysteriously killed people every time. It was too terrifying. Retreat! The team leader realized that something was wrong and made a prompt decision. However, when he turned around, he saw a muscular man sitting on the stairs of the mountain path. This person's hands were placed on his thighs. His 10 fingers were clasped together, supporting his chin. His black hair fluttered in the wind, revealing a cold and stern face. Beside him was a sword. Although it was not out of its sheath, it was emitting a cold aura. Who is it? Yi Xingqian. He just sat quietly on the stone steps. His whole body emitted an aura that seemed to be able to hold back 10,000 men. Clang! Clang! The sound of scabbards being unsheathed came from the foot of the mountain. The iron-bone disciples led by Li Qingyang drew their weapons and rushed up. Their path was blocked by Yi Xingqian. There were members of the Drizzle Hall on both sides. They rushed up from behind. The members of the hunting team were surrounded in a very short period of time. Draw your weapons, the team leader said in a deep voice. Whoosh! Whoosh! His subordinates drew their swords one after another. Their whole body emitted a beast-like aura, except for a few members who were suddenly killed by a sneak attack just now, which was a little scary. What kind of battle had the hunting team not seen before? Second brother, take some people and rush up. Kill that pretentious guy. The rest of you, follow me to block the latecomers. Yes. The deputy team leader gathered more than 20 subordinates and rushed up the stone steps. His subordinates were one step ahead. They poured their spiritual energy into their weapons, which flashed with a dazzling white light. A bunch of bastards. Yi Xingqian's gaze was filled with strong disdain. When those people were about to get close to him, he grabbed Cold Edge with his right hand and unsheathed it with his left. Clang! Cold light flashed. The light of the sword flashed. Whoosh! 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 It was very difficult to see how many sword strikes Yi Xingqian made in one breath with the naked eye. But when the light of the sword dissipated, the more than 20 members of the hunting team, who were rushing over, all stood in place and waved their hands. Thud! Thud! Yi Xingqian walked down step by step from the gap between them. He looked down at the deputy team leader, who was a grade 1 martial master, and said in a cold voice, "Do you know what it feels like to die?" Chapter 227. What was the taste of death? In this regard, Jun Changxiao and Yi Xingqian had experienced it. Only those who had truly experienced death could deeply understand how much they loved the world before death. Unfortunately, they were about to lose it. Therefore Jun Changxiao, who had transmigrated, was glad that he was still alive. Even if he had to shoulder a seemingly impossible task, he would encourage himself to face it optimistically. The 20 members of the hunting team, who had rushed up first, stood in place, experiencing the taste of death. Because of the small sword marks on their necks, although blood did not seep out, their minds and souls were slowly separating from their bodies. This process seemed to be very long, making them extremely reluctant and sentimental, but they could not stop it. They could only personally experience the arrival of death. Plop! Plop! The 20 members of the Black Eagle Hall collapsed to the ground. The sword marks on their necks appeared, and blood began to splatter as the wounds changed. As people of the evil sects, They understood death more than ordinary people, and had even been prepared to die. But when this moment really came to them, it turned out that they were really reluctant. Gulp. The deputy leader swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His eyes filled with horror, and his hands trembled involuntarily. 20 of his subordinates were killed in a few breaths by this pretentious man who looked down on him. His strength was really terrifying. Even the hall master would not be able to do that. Not a few breaths but one breath. Yi Xingqian unsheathed his sword, and with a flash of sword light, they were already dead. 2 words bow though. Swish. The deputy leader made the most correct choice in the shortest time, and used the Sect's movement technique to retreat. However, when he turned around he looked sluggish. As far as his eyes could see, the leader was already fighting with the group of unknown people. It was not a fight. His hunting team members were crazily slaughtered by the group of teenagers, who seemed to be only 17 or 18 years old. Especially the leader, who was stronger than him, was beaten to the point that he could not fight back in the face of a teenager. Break. Li Qingyang moved his body sideways, poured spiritual energy into his arm, and instantly used the mountain-splitting palm, which directly hit the blade of the leader. The palm blade gathered power at one point and blasted on the blade, directly and ruthlessly shaking it into 2 halves. Dang dang dang. The team leader retreated several steps. His eyes flashed with disbelief as he looked at his broken saber. That was a common rank weapon given to him by the hall master, but it was actually broken by a young man's palm. Just how strong was he? Poochie. Right at this moment, Long Xiang's overlord's spear directly pierced through the chest of one of his subordinates who was not far behind him. Boom! He kicked the corpse away. Looking at the blood-stained spearhead, he murmured, "Killing people is indeed much better than killing ferocious beasts." Poochie. Poochie. On the other side, Su Xiaoma and Li Fei used ghostly leap steps and swung their cold-edged swords at an extremely fast speed. Broken limbs and blood splattered everywhere. The 2 of them had killed assassins and disciples of the Black Eagle Hall, so they could remain calm. Although Zhang Wei and the others had killed the Black Eagle Hall disciples in Death Valley before, it was easy for them to kill the enemies one by one with the double advantage of strength and equipment. No one was born cruel, and no one was born to like killing. Therefore, this killing was still a spiritual experience for the disciples of the Iron Bone. The members of the Drizzle Hall were the most professional when it came to killing. With all kinds of hidden weapons, they killed the members of the hunting team one by one without batting an eyelid. There were about the same number of people on both sides. However, the disciples of the Iron Bone had the upper hand in terms of strength and equipment. Therefore, when they fought together, it was definitely a one-sided massacre. Especially when they gradually adapted to killing for the second time, their state of mind began to transform. Their hands did not tremble, and they were not nervous. When they killed, they were even more ruthless. If I don't kill, others will kill me. Therefore, they could only kill to keep themselves alive. When it came to killing, Jun Changshao had already experienced it in the Black Wind Mountain, so he did not make a move. Instead, he stood on the tree and watched. He was very pleased with the disciples' adaptability after killing for the second time. In the cruel otherworld where martial arts were respected, killing was not their nature, but at least they had to have the awareness to kill to live better. Sect Master! Sect Master! At this moment, Li Tiantian rushed over with Viper in his arms. He cried and shouted, "Save Brother Snake! Save Brother Snake!" Seeing that Viper's face was pale after bumping all the way, Jun Changshao hurriedly jumped down, opened his mouth, and threw a healing pill into his mouth. The pill spread in his body. Viper, who was on the verge of death, suddenly opened his eyes. The first thing he said was, "Li Tiantian, go to hell, you almost killed me." "He's awake, he's awake." Seeing that Brother Snake opened his eyes, Li Tiantian was wild with joy. He even felt good after being scolded. Swish! Jun Changshao waved his hand and threw the cold-edged sword over. He said, "If you don't kill someone, you'll be sorry for Viper and my healing pill." Li Tiantian caught the cold sword, and his expression suddenly froze. When he thought of how Brother Snake was hit by a hidden weapon because of him, and how it was still stuck in his body, A murderous intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. Clang! Li Tian pulled out his sword and shouted, "I want to kill." After saying that, he stepped forward and rushed over. Jun Changshao grabbed him by the back of his collar, forcibly turned his body, and pointed to the front. He said, "You're running in the wrong direction." "Sect Master," Li Tian said with a bitter face, I'm scared. Scared your ass." Viper lay on the ground, pointed at the crowd that was fighting, and shouted angrily, "Go kill them for me. If you can't kill two, you'll double the training when you go back." Hearing the words double the training, Li Tian raised his sword and rushed over. Viper said awkwardly, "Sect Master, it's my Drizzle Hall's fault for not teaching properly and cultivating such a cowardly guy." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Killing is not a small matter. It's normal for Li Tian to be afraid." Viper was silent. Thinking back to when he first killed someone at the age of 14, it took him a long time to get over it. Li Luochio stood on the tree and said with a smile, "That little guy saved you just now. He ran quite fast." Jun Changshao said, "He's a good seedling. If he trains his courage, he might be a fierce general of your Drizzle Hall. After killing many people, his courage will naturally be trained." Li Luochio paused and said, "Viper, after we go back, double the training for him." "Yes," Viper replied. In order to not double the training, Li Tian killed those who were born with courage. If he knew that he couldn't escape in the end, he would definitely cry. Li Tian rushed over and circled around one of the enemies. Tian Qi, who was fighting with the members of the hunting group and had given him many opportunities to kill, said in an incomparably broken state, "Why don't you kill?" "Pucci." The cold-edged sword pierced through that person's body. Blood splashed on Tian Qi's face, making him so angry that he almost fainted. "I've created so many good opportunities for you, but you chose to kill me from an angle where my face was splashed with blood. This is really a pig teammate." Swoosh. He pulled out his sword, and the corpse fell to the ground. Enduring the dizziness caused by circling around, Li Tian stared at the blood-stained sword in a daze, his stomach suddenly churning. "Mom, I killed someone." Xiao, xiao, xiao. Just at this moment, several hidden weapons flew from behind. Ding, ding, ding. Yang Yuhua strode over and blocked it with her iron shield, and said, "Junior brother, I'll leave the hidden weapons to you. Kill again?" Li Tian held the blood-stained sword, and for some reason, his hand actually stopped trembling. Once again, he shouted to boost his courage and charged forward. Swoosh, swoosh. Hidden weapons came one after another. Li Tian relied on Ghost Leap to dodge, and finally rushed in front of him. Cold-edged sword fiercely swept over. Pucci! This sword was infused with all its strength, directly taking away the opponent's head. Chapter 228. Although that member of the hunting team was a 5th-grade martial disciple, he didn't even have the chance to dodge under the high-speed burst and the support of the cold-edged sword. He was fast, so was his sword. This was the result of Li Tian's dozens of days of training. Not bad. Jun Changshao smiled with satisfaction. As long as this disciple could overcome his psychological state, he was still worth training. "I killed someone again." Looking at the head that fell in the distance, Li Tian was in a daze. It was strange. His originally tense state of mind gradually calmed down after killing the enemies. Thinking about it carefully, it wasn't that scary. Zhang Wei and the others killed the enemies again and again, and realized that killing people was much easier than killing berserk beasts. This was because their strength and equipment were too strong, and it was their first time killing someone in Death Valley. Although the members of the hunting team were veterans who had experienced hundreds of battles, they definitely couldn't handle a group of monsters. In a short period of time, more than 80 members of the hunting team were killed. Among them, Yi Xingqian was the most valiant as he killed 20 people with one slash. How about the Iron Bones casualties? Except for Viper, the other disciples were safe and sound. They weren't even injured. Logically speaking, the members of the hunting team were similar to assassins, and were good at throwing hidden weapons. Even if they didn't die, they should at least be injured. They threw a lot of hidden weapons. However, what made them collapse was that the group of teenagers could condense a vague barrier around their bodies and easily blocked the hidden weapons. The value of the seal barrier was reflected. Although the iron-bone disciples hadn't cultivated it to the peak, it was still easy to block the force of 10,000 pounds. They were all covered in frying pans to protect their bodies. This would definitely make the opponents who were good at throwing hidden weapons despair. Damn it! The team leader, who had been entangled by Li Qingyang, saw his subordinates falling one by one. His eyes were filled with rage. However, he also realized that the enemy was strong and wanted to retreat. In the past, he was the one who forced others to retreat. Today, he was the one who wanted to retreat. Swish! The team leader seized the opportunity and dodged Li Qingyang's mountain-splitting palm. He was about to run up the mountain when he saw the deputy team leader's head being cut off. Yi Xingchen held the blood sword and stood behind the headless body. His face was as cold as ever. Hiss! The team leader sucked in a cold breath. More than 20 disciples went to kill that pretentious guy, but in the end, all of them died in front of the stairs. Even the vice team leader, who was also a grade 1 martial master, was killed. No wonder he dared to block the road by himself. Hey! Li Qingyang's voice came from behind. Don't get distracted. Boom! The mountain-splitting palm landed on the team leader's back, and the powerful force sent him flying. Ta! After landing on the ground, his face was pale, and the meridians in his body were severely damaged. However, a red glow flickered in his eyes. Li Qingyang was rather surprised. Shua! Right at this moment, a blood-red aura emanated from the team leader's body. Then, he charged up the mountain with a red shadow in tow. He did not go to Yi Xingchen's position. Instead, he leaped over 20 meters and landed directly on the mountain wall. Then like a monkey he scurried up. So fast? Jun Changshao asked in surprise. Li Luoqiu said, it should be a kind of evil movement technique. The martial techniques cultivated by the orthodox sects were all about progressing step by step, aiming to advance steadily. However, the martial techniques cultivated by the evil sects were mostly about extremes. There were pros and cons. The pros were that the cultivation speed was fast, and the increase in strength was also fast. The cons were that during the cultivation process, and even the process of using the technique, one had to pay a corresponding price. For example, the team leader used the evil sect's blood explosion steps. Although it could instantly increase one's speed and jumping ability, the price was to burn one's blood. After using it, one would definitely fall into exhaustion. If one burned too fiercely, they might even die. I've sinned, Jun Changshao said. Shoot him down. Yes. Xiao Ziji aimed at the climbing team leader with his 8x scope and predicted his position based on his jumping speed. Then he pulled the trigger. Whoosh! The bullet burst out, and there was a slight sound of wind breaking. He was about to reach the mountain gate. He was about to be safe. With his blood burning, the team leader's desire to live reached its peak. After a dozen jumps, he landed on the platform at the top of the mountain. Suddenly, a strong aura of death filled the air. The team leader, who had just released his strength, suddenly narrowed his eyes and said in shock, "No!" Bang! The streamer bullet directly passed through the back of his head, and blood splashed out. When he rushed up, if he continued to escape, Xiao Ziji's bullet might not have hit his head. However, he thought that he was safe and relaxed a little, so he was shot in the head. There was no other way. Plop! The team leader fell straight down. His lifeless eyes were staring at the mountain gate of Black Eagle Hall, which was only 50 meters away. Creak! The closed door opened, and the disciples of Black Eagle Hall rushed out. When they saw the team leader of the hunting team dying on the stone platform at the top of the mountain, their faces changed greatly. Not good. Team leader's son was killed. Leader! After Xiao Ziji fired the shot, he still aimed at the mountain with his 8x scope and said, "The people of Black Eagle Hall were alerted." Jun Changshao immediately shouted, "Let's end this quickly." Yes, the disciples suddenly burst out more power and weapons, and then in a very short time, They killed all the remaining members of the hunting team. At this point, the hunting team named after hunting others was hunted down by Ironbone Fan. Search them, Jun Changshao said. The disciples quickly looted the bags until they took the space rings and other things, and then they used their body movement skills to retreat. A few minutes later, the deputy leader led more than 300 disciples down the mountain. When he saw the bodies of the hunting team members at the intersection, he was so angry that his eyes almost popped out. Who did this? His angry voice was transmitted in the air. Although Jun Changshao heard it, he had already retreated to a more hidden area with his disciples. He took out his 88 sniper rifle and directly fired 20 shots at the intersection. Bang! 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 The 20 Black Eagle Hall disciples who were targeted, although they were always alert, could not avoid the silent bullets, and were finally shot dead on the spot. Seeing this, the deputy leader's face changed. He did not dare to stand there and get angry, and hurriedly led his men back to the sect. Jun Changshao continued to reload the ammunition. After 20 bullets were loaded, the group of Black Eagle Hall people were already a kilometer away and gave up shooting. Swish! After throwing the gun to Xiao Ziji, he looked at the disciples and smiled. How do you feel about this killing trip? Very good. Li Tiantian spoke first. Get lost. Viper kicked him on the butt and said, I was almost killed by you, and you still have the face to feel good here. Brother Snake. Li Tiantian covered his butt and said apologetically, I'm sorry. I was too nervous at the beginning and implicated you. Just an apology is enough? Viper said. When we return to the sect, we must double the training to punish you. Ah. Li Tiantian jumped up and said, Brother Snake, I just killed 2 enemies. Viper said. With Tianqi's help, that one doesn't count. Plop. Li Tiantian collapsed on the grass, howling in his heart. This is cheating. Ha ha ha. Seeing that guy's face, the disciples who had just experienced a massacre relaxed and laughed heartily. Chapter 229. The 100 members of the hunting team, including the leader and deputy leader, were all killed in less than half an hour. Oh no! There was still one survivor. His name was Buttface and he was in great pain. If he had a cell phone, he would have sent a message to his friends asking for help. His body was completely frozen like a lifelike ice sculpture. Lu Qianqian was the one who sealed him, and Yang Yuhua was the one who carried him here. Now he was placed beside a rock, surrounded by iron-bone disciples, who were pointing and gossiping. Eldest senior sister is so fierce. She actually sealed a living person in ice. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Being sealed inside, it must be cold, right? It was more than cold. Buttface, who was wrapped in ice, felt as if he had fallen into an extremely cold hell, and was suffering indescribable pain. If he had a choice, he would rather be shot in the head, or beheaded by a sword than suffer such inhumane torture. It was a pity. He had no choice, because he had to take full responsibility for every word he said just now. Sect leader. Li Luochio's beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent. This guy's mouth is full of obscenities. If I don't torture him properly, I won't be able to take it. To make Hall Masterly so irritable, it was obvious that Buttface had said a lot of unsightly things when he came down. Jun Changshao said, I'll leave it to you. Swish. Li Luochio waved her hand, and a shiny dagger appeared. Then she went to the ice sculpture and cut its arm. Crack. The ice fell, and there was flesh inside. Crack, crack, crack. Buttface's cut arm was exposed to the outside world. Before he could spew blood, it was sealed again by the cold air. Was it painful? It was super painful. It was so painful that Buttface escaped from the extremely cold hell. The pain was heart-wrenching, and his face was full of pain. Yes, it couldn't change, it was sealed in ice. Swish, swish, swish. Li Luochio waved her dagger wildly, and the ice fell off layer by layer. Lu Qianqian stood at the side, seemingly motionless, but she had been using her cold energy to seal the man's exposed skin with a layer of ice. In front of the 2 women, Buttface was as good as being dismembered. Too cruel. The Iron Bone disciples, who had experienced killing, turned their heads away when they saw this frightening scene. Ling Shui, Li Luoqiu said, "You also come and get a piece." "Ah, oh." Ling Yuanxue took the dagger and went to the ice sculpture with her eyes closed. Then, she turned her small face and waved it. Kaka. A layer of ice wrapped around the meat and fell off piece by piece. In the end, the guy named Buttface was put to death by 1,000 cuts. There was no need to describe how painful the whole process was. In short, just as his companion had said, he really died in the hands of a woman. Yes, his wish came true. To die by 1,000 cuts under the 3 peonies. Even becoming a ghost would be a tragedy. The iron-bone disciples who participated in the killing all killed people, and some killed more than one. In this cruel world, to experience such things was undoubtedly the most normal, and it was also a kind of spiritual experience. The one who changed the most was Li Tiantian. He lay on the grass, recalling the scene of killing people just now. Although there was still some lingering fear in the beginning, he gradually realized that it was actually not a big deal. Today, Li Tiantian said to himself, today is the day that I, Li Tiantian, ascend. Ling Yuanxue also killed people, but she did it with the help of her senior brother. Although she was still very scared, she had unknowingly gained a lot of courage, which would definitely be helpful in the future. Sect leader, Li Luoqiu said, "What do we do next?" Jun Changshao lay on the stone, a green foxtail in the corner of his mouth, and said, "So many disciples have died. Anyone with a bit of temper will definitely not be able to resist coming out." Black Eagle Hall. Bang! The tea table was directly shattered by Lai Haishi's palm, and his whole body was filled with terrifying anger and killing intent. He had just ordered the hunting team to take action, and the result was that they all died at the foot of the mountain. It was definitely unacceptable. If they were ordinary disciples, it would not matter. He had spent a lot of resources and effort to cultivate the members of the hunting team. Sect leader, Yang Ji frowned and said, "The group that ambushed at the foot of the mountain did not come with good intentions. To be able to kill all the members of the hunting team in such a short time, and even the leader died at the mountain gate. This was definitely not something an ordinary martial cultivator could do." "Mr. Yang," Lai Haisha suppressed his anger and said, "Who dares to provoke the Black Eagle Hall at the foot of the mountain?" It's hard to say. Yang Ji had been thinking about the identity of the intruder, but after thinking for a long time, he could not figure out who it was. The vice sect leader said, "Some time ago, we robbed Thunderbolt Hall's goods. Could it be them?" "Impossible." Yang Ji did not speak, and Lai Haisha denied it first. Although Thunderbolt Hall is a 7th-rate sect like the Black Eagle Hall, they do not have the ability to do so. "Could it be?" the vice sect leader said with a serious expression. "Was it done by a 6th-rate sect?" Yang Ji shook his head and said, "All these years, our targets were all 8th-rate and 9th-rate sects. We have never offended a 6th-rate sect." Lai Haisha said angrily, "No matter who did it, they must pay a heavy price for killing our Black Eagle Hall's men. Mr. E, do you have any good ideas? Let's counterattack." Yang Ji said, "According to what I saw at the mountain gate, there are at least 70 to 80 of them. The enemy is in the dark while we are in the light, and they have powerful hidden weapons. We will be at a disadvantage if we attack them head-on. Why don't we wait for nightfall and sneak down from the back of the mountain, make sure that they have not left, and kill them all in one go?" "Makes sense." Lai Haisha looked at the vice sect leader and said, "Sanzi, bring a few of the branch leaders and the agile disciples down from the back of the mountain. Find the ambusher and send a signal." "Yes." The vice sect leader quickly left. At the foot of the Black Eagle Mountain, Xiao Ziji had been holding the Type 88 sniper rifle, using the 8x scope to observe the Black Eagle Hall's mountain gate. Li Qingyang and the others spread out, paying attention to their surroundings. Jun Changshao sat on a rock and said, "They haven't come out for so long. It doesn't seem like the style of the evil sections." Li Luoqiu said, "Our Shenwei firearms can kill without leaving a trace. They are not idiots. They will not dare to come out directly." "Makes sense." Jun Changshao continued to observe the map, then pointed at the outline of the cliff and said, "Do you think they will come down from here and sneak behind us at night?" No way, Li Luochio said. The cliff is as smooth as a knife. It is at least a few hundred feet high. One careless fall. Even a martial master will be seriously injured. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, if there is only one way out of a sect's headquarters, it is definitely not normal. This place that seems to be the most dangerous place. Maybe it is their escape route. Yang Ji was thinking about coming down from the back of the mountain. He was also thinking the same. The two of them were really telepathic. You stay here and guard, Jun Changshao said. I will take people to the back of the mountain to watch. After he finished speaking, he led Xiao Zuiji and the others in a big circle and came to the back of a cliff that was about 1,000 meters high. There was a raging torrent below. If someone fell from above, even if they didn't die from the fall, they would be washed to the ends of the earth. Night came. Head, Xiao Ziji, who had been observing above, whispered, someone is coming down. Jun Changshao leaned over, took the gun, and aimed with the 8x scope. Under the moonlight, he could vaguely see the Black Eagle Hall disciples gathering on the cliff. Then, dozens of people jumped down at the same time. Damn! Looking at the black shadows falling, Jun Changshao's mouth twitched and said, even if it is bungee jumping, at least tie a rope to the leg. Chapter 230. The Black Eagle Hall disciple did not even tie a rope and jumped off the cliff, which made Jun Changshao admire him very much. He did not think that these people would jump off without any safety equipment to play with extreme death. So he continued to observe with the 8x scope. Sure enough, when the Black Eagle Hall disciples landed in the air, their hands suddenly spread out and wings similar to feathers appeared. Then they glided diagonally. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. So there are hang gliders. This kind of thing that was common on Earth appeared in another world with a hint of black technology. It was obviously not the first time that the Black Eagle Hall people jumped off the cliff. When they opened the special hang gliders, they skillfully controlled the direction and flew to the opposite flat ground. There are so many birds. How can I not take the opportunity to shoot a few? Jun Changshao set up the Type 88 sniper rifle, opened the enhanced mode, and locked on to the head of the last person. Whoosh! Pulling the trigger, the bullet silently went out and directly penetrated the disciple's head. His mind and body lost connection, and his balance was also lost. He suddenly fell into the river like a plane that had crashed. The torrent was so powerful that the people in front did not realize that their companions had been shot and washed away. They were still concentrating on controlling the two pairs of hang gliders, and continued to fly to the flat ground. Whoosh! 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 Jun Changshao pulled the trigger one after another, killing more than a dozen members, and then saw them fall one by one, drifting away with the current. It was like this guy landed in advance, holding a gun, and opening a plug-in to kill people who were still parachuting. The feeling was super cool. Jun Changshao did not kill all of them. He still had to leave some for his disciples, so he gave up shooting after killing more than a dozen. Ta-ta-ta! The Black Eagle Hall Deputy Hall Leader and several division leaders landed safely one after another. However, when they all landed, they found that more than a dozen people were missing, so they all stared at each other. Deputy Hall Leader, a division leader whispered. Could it be that they made a mistake and fell into the river? It's possible, the Deputy Hall Leader said. It doesn't matter. Let's search for the people in the dark first. After finding them, we will send a signal to the hall leader and form an encirclement. Deputy Hall Leader, search for a group of people and send a signal? Forming an encirclement? These keywords were all captured by the eavesdropping function of the 8x scope. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, this little trick is quite good. Vice Hall Master, this was a big fish. Jun Changshao kept his 8x scope locked onto his target. Seeing that they were heading in his direction, he gave the order to his disciples. Swish! Swish! Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others summoned their weapons and shields. There were 23 people on Iron Bone's side. Yi Xingqian and Zhou Hong did not come along. The Black Eagle Hall also had over 20 people. The Vice Hall Master was a Grade 2 Martial Master, and the 4 branch leaders were Grade 1 Martial Masters. Without 2 main attackers, it would undoubtedly be a test. However, Jun Changsha was confident that his disciple would be able to deal with them easily. After all, could these people be stronger than a high-ranked feral? Deputy Hall Master, who the hell is attacking our Black Eagle Hall? On the way, one of the branch masters lowered his voice and said. Another branch master said, even group leader Ho was killed. The other party is not simple. Humph. The vice hall master said coldly. How dare they come to our territory and kill our people? They must be tired of living. Swish, swish, swish. Suddenly, a soft sound was heard. Someone is here. The vice hall master whispered. In an instant, several of his subordinates and more than 10 disciples became alert. However, they narrowed their eyes and observed the surroundings. There was nothing at all. Did they hear wrongly? Swish, 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 swish. The Black Eagle Hall people hurriedly gathered together and carefully observed the surroundings. However, they still did not see anyone. In the dark night, there was the sound of footsteps on the grass, but there was no trace. This was undoubtedly a little creepy. One of the branch leaders whispered, could it be the sound of wind? Impossible. The vice hall master said firmly, it's clearly footsteps. Swish. Suddenly, a sword light flashed in the dark night. The sword light appeared very quickly. When they caught sight of it, it had already disappeared. Plop. The disciple who was walking at the back fell to the ground. His head landed somewhere unknown. Over there. One of the branch leaders caught sight of a figure that was escaping. Swish. 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 In the blink of an eye, several of his subordinates behind him threw all kinds of things over without saying anything. This reaction speed was indeed worthy of someone who frequently killed people and robbed people. Ding! 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 After Su Xiaoma killed one person, he placed the iron shield behind him while escaping, successfully blocking all the hidden weapons. No matter how fast one's reaction speed was, it was useless against a hard shield. Swish! Swish! On the other side, Li Fei used ghost walking steps to circle behind them. Then he jumped up and did a cool volley in the air. Swish! A stone of just the right size was shot over in an arc. Its target was none other than the vice hall master. Swish! Swish! The vice hall master was not careless. When he saw a hidden object attacking him, he gathered the spiritual energy in his arms and formed a layer of spiritual energy around his fists. Bang! The stone was directly shattered. The vice hall master took a step back with a shocked expression on his face. That was just an ordinary stone, but it contained such a strong force. How did it do it? After returning to the sect to cultivate for half a month, Li Fei had entered the 8th stage from the 7th stage. Furthermore, he had trained in the training tower. The strength of his golden right foot had reached 25,000 points. It should be known that the strength of an ordinary first-stage martial master was only about 25,000 points. What did that mean? Li Fei, who was only an 8th-stage martial disciple, was comparable to a first-stage martial master. He was already so strong, let alone Su Xiaoma, who had a supreme spiritual root. No wonder he could kill a person silently. Swish! Swish! After the two of them attacked, they did not continue to attack. Instead, they used ghost walking steps to move around, dazzling the Black Eagle squad. Let's do it, Jun Changshao said in a low voice. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji, who were lurking nearby, quickly rushed over. They had already spread out in advance. Once they took action, they would immediately form an encirclement. This time, Li Qingyang did not use his bare hands. He took out his cold-edged sword, locked onto the vice hall master, and rushed over first. Xiao Ziji clenched his fist and locked onto the strongest of the division leaders. The Black Eagle squad naturally noticed them. Some took out their weapons, while others threw hidden weapons wildly. Unfortunately, under the protection of the solid iron shield and the seal cover, these hidden weapons with the force of tens of thousands of kilograms posed no threat at all. Swish! Li Qingyang rushed over first. He immediately used the 9 overlapping wave sword. Layers of waves spread out and entangled the vice hall master in an instant. On the other side, Xiao Ziji was more direct. He rushed in front of his opponent and directly swept over with his mountain-splitting palm. The division leader sneered, and used his sharp sword infused with spiritual power to meet the attack. Even though your palm is powerful, how can it be compared to my sword? Boom! The palm, which was imbued with supreme power, slammed into the sword blade and broke it. The smile on the division leader's face suddenly froze. Bang! Xiao Ziji reached out with his other hand and grabbed the falling broken sword. He leaned his body and took a step forward. The blade flashed with white light and mercilessly slashed at the division leader's neck. Thud! He steadied his body and stood behind. Poochie! The division leader's head flew out. His eyes were filled with shock. It could be seen that even before he died, he was thinking how that guy's palm made of flesh and blood could cut off his sharp sword without any damage. This was because when the strength reached the peak, the palm could be compared to the sharp sword. From the palm to grabbing the broken sword, and then to the step forward to cut off the head. Xiao Ziji's movements were really clean and nimble. It could be said to be a textbook one-step kill. Chapter 231. Poochie, the vice hall master at the other end, was directly pierced through the chest by the cold-edged sword. Although his strength was that of a grade 2 martial master, in the face of a grade 9 martial disciple Li Qingyang, he could only symbolically resist 2 moves. This was considered special care. With our great genius Li's true strength, it was enough to kill him in 1 move. Plop! The vice hall master knelt on the ground, his eyes unfocused. He flew down from the cliff like a juggler, but in the end, he died just like that. This was something he did not expect at all. As for the other 3 division leaders, one was killed by Su Xiaomo, one was killed by Tian Qi, and the last one died under Long Xiang's conqueror spear. Tsk tisk. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "That kid's strength is not bad." If Long Xiang heard this, he would definitely cry. Sect leader, my strength has always been very strong, but when I was in Death Valley, the performance of the inner sect senior brothers was more and more monstrous, and my brilliance was completely overshadowed. Witnessing the vice hall master and division leader being killed, the Black Eagle Hall disciples' eyes were filled with shock, and their hearts were filled with the intention to retreat. Retreat? That was impossible. The moment they jumped down from the cliff, they were already destined to die. Not to fall to their deaths but to be killed. Poochie! Poochie! Zhang Wei and the other 10 disciples held the cold-edged sword and overlord Qi like wolves and tigers, killing with powerful strength. Ka ka ka! Lu Qianqian raised her right hand with a bracelet, and cold air filled the air, instantly freezing an enemy, and said, "Junior Ling, go and kill him." Okay. Ling Yuanxue carefully walked over with her sword, and then waved her sword to kill. When she killed Buttface just now, her eyes were still closed. Now that she could open them, it was the best proof of her growth. Under the cruel and merciless slaughter of the Ironbone disciples, all the people of Black Eagle Hall fell to the ground, and not a single one was left alive. As usual, everyone began to search, and found a lot of space rings. Needless to say, the people of Black Eagle Hall, especially the few division leaders, really had goods in their rings. Just the banknotes alone were worth 70 to 80,000, and there were also quite a few crystal cores. Jun Changshao kept all the items and said, "Robbing these evil sects is also a way to make money." Sect Master. Su Xiaoma found something that looked like a torch on the Vice Hall Master's body and asked, "What is this?" Jun Changshao took it and observed it carefully. Maybe it's a signal gun or something like that. Thinking of what the Deputy Hall Chief had said, he understood that the people in the Black Eagle Hall's base camp should be waiting for the people below to send the signal, and then lead the people to attack and form a siege. This was an opportunity. He could make good use of it. Jun Changshao said, "Male disciples take off their clothes and change into them." Yes, even though they didn't understand what he meant, the disciples still obeyed his instructions. Soon, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji and the others put on the Black Eagle Hall uniform with the word "Eagle" engraved on it. Although it did not fit them well, it was still acceptable. "I'll go." Su Xiaoma pinched his nose and said, "What a strong smell of fox." "Let's go." Jun Changshao said, "Let's go back." Everyone went back the way they came. After meeting up with the Drizzle Hall, Jun Changshao said, "Did anyone come out of the mountain gate?" "No," Li Luoqiu said. When she saw Li Qingyang and the others wearing the Black Eagle Hall uniform, she was puzzled. "Sect Master, are you going to let them sneak in?" "No." Jun Changshao sat on a rock, thought for a while, and said, "Lure all the rats down." Li Luoqiu was confused. Jun Changshao summoned the disciples in front of him and began the next step of deployment. "Do you understand?" "Understood," everyone said in unison. Jun Changshao jumped down from the rock and then led everyone to a more hidden area and took out something like a torch. "How do I use it?" He played with it for a while and found that the bottom was a little loose. He tried to press it down, and a strange smoke immediately spewed out from the front. Sect Master Jun was afraid that it was poisonous, so he hurriedly held his breath. He was overthinking. The smoke was not poisonous, but it carried a faint smell. It floated towards the Black Eagle Mountain like dust, and finally merged into the main hall. Lai Haisha, who was waiting anxiously, smelled the smell and grinned. "The Deputy Hall Master has sent the signal. Mr. Yang, can we take action now?" "Yes," Yang Ji said. Swish! Lai Haisha strode forward and snapped his fingers. More than 300 disciples rushed out of the inner courtyard. They did not go out from the main door, but jumped over the wall and followed the hall master down the stone stairs. It really is a signal gun. Jun Changshao, who was on the tree, was wearing dazzling sunglasses. He saw a group of people coming down through the eightfold vision. The strongest among them was a peak stage martial master with a high-grade spiritual root. He should be the hall master of the Black Eagle Hall. It was already very good for a leader of a seventh-rate sect to have the cultivation of a peak stage martial master. After all, Qin Haoran, who was a sixth-rate sect leader, had just entered Wuzong. Of course, Jun Changshao knew that the hall master of the Black Eagle Hall was strong not because of his talent, but because of his evil cultivation techniques. Therefore, he had to be serious when facing such a sinister opponent. "Zhou Hong," Jun Changshao said, "there is a peak stage martial master among the people coming down. I'll leave it to you later." "Okay," Zhou Hong replied. After this swordsman returned to the sect, he did not go to the trial tower to train. Instead, he focused on comprehending the Ling Jian divine technique. Although it had only been half a month, it was obvious that he had made good progress from the sword aura in his eyes. Jun Changshao had also asked him if he was not going to temper his body. Zhou Hong's answer was, when a swordsman is comprehending the way of the sword, it is equivalent to tempering the body. How could one temper by just standing there? Jun Changshao could not understand this special profession, so he believed in Zhou Hong. Sect leader Yi Xingchen said lightly, "Junior brother Zhou doesn't need to do anything. I can take care of that peak stage martial master. This is the leader of an evil sect. Who knows if he has any sinister martial arts techniques?" Jun Changshao said, "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Yi Xingchen said lightly. A seventh-rate evil sect leader was nothing to him. In the past, he had killed many evil sect leaders Wu Huang and Wu Sheng. "In that case," Jun Changshao said, "I'll leave the leader to you." After making the arrangements, he said, "Everyone follow the plan." Yes, the members of the Drizzle Hall moved the Black Eagle Hall's vice hall master and his subordinates over. These corpses had already changed into Ironbone's school uniform. Then, someone fell to the side and pretended to be dead. Yes, they were pretending to be dead. Li Qingyang and the others held the Black Eagle Hall's weapons and pretended to be facing each other. It was as if the two sides had fought. The Ironbone disciples were either dead or injured. The one who pretended the most was Li Tianshang. He lay on the ground with his mouth crooked and his tongue out, like a hanged ghost. The most professional was Viper and the others. They fell beside the vice hall master, and even smeared blood on their faces. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Behind them, on the stairs leading to Black Eagle Mountain, Lai Haisha rushed down with his disciples and followed the smell. Relying on the moonlight, he vaguely saw his own people and the corpses lying on the grass. What was going on? Had Sanzi and the others already made a move first? Damn it! He thought they were some great people, but it turned out that they could easily take care of them by going around from the back. Thinking of how he had been holding back on the mountain for half a day, Lai Haisha shouted angrily, "Surround them and chop them all into pieces." Yes. The disciples sped up. However, only Yang Ji frowned. He felt that the situation was not right, or rather, it should not be so smooth. Shua. Lai Haisha had already rushed to the front of the first corpse. He took out his weapon and slashed at the back. He smiled with satisfaction. "Sanzi, well done." However, the Vice Hall Master's back was still facing him. Lai Haisha was puzzled and walked over. But just as he took a step, Yang Ji exclaimed behind him, "Hall Master, he's not." Bang! The stream photon bullet shot out and directly penetrated his head. Before Yang Ji could finish his words, his eyes had already lost focus, and he fell straight to the ground. After killing this incompetent advisor, the disciples who were lying on the ground, pretending to be dead, jumped up one after another. The members of the Drizzle Hall, who were hiding in the distance, also appeared. "Disciples, listen to my orders." Jun Changxiao's cold voice resounded in the mountains. "Kill all these evil people." Yes. Chapter 232. Jun Changxiao asked his disciples to pretend to be members of Black Eagle Hall, because it was dark. If it was half a day, they would have been seen through immediately. Yang Ji noticed something, but as soon as he opened his mouth to warn them, he was shot in the head by Li Luoqiu. When he fell to the ground, Lai Haisha and his men were stunned. Whoosh! The disciples who were playing dead on the ground stood up and took out their weapons. "Disciples, listen up," Jun Changxiao said coldly. "Kill all these evil people." Yes. The disciples unleashed their psionic energy and charged forward. Although they were far less than the 300 members of Black Eagle Hall in terms of numbers, they were not afraid at all after a few killings. "Sanzi," Lai Haisha said in a low voice, "what's going on?" This guy had not realized that he had fallen into a trap when he brought his disciples down the mountain. Li Qingyang, who was disguised as the deputy hall master, turned around and poured his psionic energy into the cold-edged sword, reflecting his appearance. Lai Haisha saw this and said coldly, "You're not Sanzi." "Sanzi? You're talking about him, right?" Li Qingyang kicked the corpse under his feet over. Lai Haisha saw Sanzi's face through the sword aura, and his eyes were filled with anger. "Puchi!" At this moment, a sound came from behind. The sword in Viper's hand pierced through the chest of a Black Eagle Hall disciple. He was injured by Li Tian, but did not make a move. He must be suppressing his anger and wanted to vent it out. With the first disciple killed, the battle between the two sects officially began. Psionic energy exploded from both sides, and the battle became a mess. Black Eagle Hall, which had the advantage in numbers, should be able to counterattack easily, but when they fought with Iron-Bone disciples, they suddenly felt a lot of pressure. Especially the disciples who were holding swords and sabers. Their weapons were broken by Zhang Wei and the others. They were dumbfounded on the spot. "Puchi! Puchi!" Sword aura flashed, and broken limbs flew everywhere. In just one round, more than 30 disciples of Black Eagle Hall died. With the double suppression of cultivation and equipment, even if they had the advantage in numbers, they were just a bunch of weeds. These people had died with a clear conscience. Following that, many of the Black Eagle Hall disciples died unjustly. They were either killed by hidden weapons or sneak attacks. The members of Drizzle Hall moved around the battlefield like ghosts. They fully displayed their skills as assassins, and it was really impossible to guard against them. Sword radiance, spear radiance, and various hidden weapons flashed frequently on the battlefield. The disciples of Black Eagle Hall were mercilessly slaughtered and fell one by one. Lai Haisha still stood where he was. He didn't make a move because his gaze was locked onto Li Qingyang, and the killing intent in his eyes grew more and more intense. The hunting team had been annihilated right in front of their own home, and the Vice Hall Master had been killed. It was truly unbearable and unacceptable. Hoo-hoo! As he clenched his fists, a blood-red stream of air emanated from his body, giving off a sinister aura. "Hey!" Yi Xingchen walked over and stood in front of him. He said proudly, "Your opponent is me. Junior brother, I'll leave it to you," Li Qingyang said. I'll go deal with the others." As he spoke, he used his movement technique to go around them. Then he charged into the group of enemies and started a crazy massacre. Zhou Hong also joined the battle. This guy was really ferocious. He seemed to be strolling leisurely, but in a breath, he had slashed dozens of times. The surrounding disciples of Black Eagle Hall fell to the ground one after another, with fine sword marks on their necks. The sword was so fast that even the sword radiance couldn't be seen. TSK, Jun Changshao said. He can probably kill all the disciples of Black Eagle Hall here by himself. This is my Iron Bone's strongest attack. Are you afraid? Afraid? The disciples of Black Eagle Hall were very afraid. They had originally wanted to stabilize the situation and organize an effective counterattack. But when they saw Zhou Hong kill dozens of people with one strike, their eyes were suddenly filled with horror. In a battle between two armies, morale was the most important. Now, seeing so many of their companions die, the disciples of Black Eagle Hall immediately suffered a heavy blow. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others sped up their killing speed. Wherever they went, they killed with one strike. The sect leader had just said that he wanted to kill all these evil people. So the only thing he could do was to make sure that they didn't even have a chance to escape. Black Eagle Hall realized that their opponents were too strong, and hurriedly pulled back their defense line and gathered together. Boom, boom, boom. Yang Yuhua raised her iron shield and rushed in like a wild bull. In an instant, more than 10 enemies were sent flying, and the defense line was torn apart. Long Xiang and the others held their guns and went forward, killing the disciples of Black Eagle Hall like a whirlwind. For a moment, broken limbs and blood flew in the air. Unfortunately, it was night time. If it was daytime, the scene of them cutting down the grass would be even more shocking. Seeing how terrifying they were, the disciples of Black Eagle Hall were even more shocked. Like frightened mice, they all shrank together. In this way, they would only be surrounded by Iron Bone, and would not even have a chance to escape. They couldn't just sit there and wait for death. They had to fight back. A leader shouted angrily, "Kill!" Bang! A bullet pierced through his head, and his body fell to the ground. Li Luoqiu, who was standing on a tree, smiled and said, "I specialize in killing the bird that sticks out." Boom! Boom! Yang Yuhua raised her iron shield and formed a seal shield around her body. She was like a bulldozer, knocking away all the Black Eagle Hall disciples wherever she went. Long Xiang and the others followed all the way, like sharp spears, constantly killing their targets. Just like this, they charged back and forth a few times and killed 50 to 60 people. Counting it. In a short time, more than 100 of the 300 disciples of Black Eagle Hall had died. Corpses were scattered everywhere, like a slaughterhouse. Jun Changshao watched from the side and muttered, "Based on their efficiency, they should be able to finish them all in half an hour." As he spoke, he looked at Lai Haisha. The disciples were killed one by one, but he still stood in the same place. However, the blood-red light gathered in his fist became more and more intense. Yi Xingchen raised his eyebrows and said disdainfully, "Are you using a martial technique?" Was he seen through? It didn't matter, because he had already finished accumulating power. Ta! Lai Haisha suddenly turned around and angrily waved his fist that was condensed with violent blood-red power. He shouted angrily, "Today all of you will die." Boom! The fist hit the void. Whoosh whoosh. A gust of wind suddenly blew and evil energy spread. At the spot where Lai Haisha had hit, a huge blood-red fist appeared out of thin air and blasted toward the Iron Bone disciple behind him. He didn't have the time to fight with Yi Xingchen alone. He had to use an explosive evil martial technique to kill all the enemies behind him and reverse the defeat of his disciples. Whoosh whoosh. The 3-meter-long blood-red fist was like a small mountain. It swept across the grass and a powerful force burst out. Everywhere it passed, it immediately formed a ditch. It was strong and fast. The people who were crazily killing the Black Eagle Hall disciples turned around, and their expressions changed. Whoosh! Xiao Ziji rushed over and erected his iron shield in front of him. Courting death. Lai Haisha sneered in his heart. His blood explosion fist had been accumulating power for a long time, and its strength had reached more than 100,000 pounds. It was comparable to a grade 1 martial master. How could that guy resist with a shield? Boom! The blood-red fist directly hit the shield. Lai Haisha's eyes gradually widened, and his gaze was filled with horror. Chapter 233. The previous leader of the Black Eagle Hall had obtained an upper-grade mental cultivation technique and an upper-grade fist technique. The mental cultivation technique was called the Blood Demon Scripture. It could forcefully reverse the flow of blood and increase one's cultivation. With this mental cultivation technique, the disciples of the Black Eagle Hall could increase their cultivation without sufficient resources. Lai Haisha had a deep understanding of the Blood Demon Scripture, which was why he was able to break through to the peak of martial master. As for the fist technique, it was called the Blood Explosion Fist. This technique needed to be paired with the Blood Demon Scripture to stimulate the blood in one's body. It could release a bloody fist with explosive power. The disadvantage was obvious. It needed time to accumulate power. While the disciples were being slaughtered, Lai Haisha was accumulating power and finally released it. With the support of his cultivation and martial arts, the huge bloody fist that was condensed had a force of more than 100,000 pounds. It was comparable to an ordinary rank 1 wuzong. If it touched the disciples' iron bone, they would definitely be blasted into pieces. At the critical moment, our main tank Xiao Ziji stood in the path of the bloody fist with his iron shield, protecting the juniors behind him. The disciples who were a little flustered suddenly felt a strong sense of security when they saw their seniors standing in front of them. Xiao Ziji, who dared to use his broken body to withstand hundreds of thousands of pounds of force in front of the fire dragon, looked at the blood explosion fist with disdain. He didn't even activate his defensive barrier. This was too disrespectful to the opponent and the martial arts of the evil sects. Boom! In the end, the bloody fist that was the size of a small mountain smashed into the solid iron shield, and a wave of evil chi spread out in all directions. Xiao Ziji stood in place as steadily as Mount Tai, and took all the force of the explosion. Even if the fist's force was more than 100,000 pounds, as long as it wasn't as strong as the fire dragon, it was impossible to shake him. Lai Haisha, who had absolute confidence in the blood explosion fist, widened his eyes in disbelief. His fist was comparable to a rank 1 wuzong. The young man who was charging at him was only a martial disciple. How could he take it with just a shield? Ta! Xiao Ziji took a step forward and pushed the bloody fist back half a meter. Then his muscles and veins popped out. He suddenly exerted force and pushed the fist back. Boom! The bloody fist smashed into an unoccupied mountain rock, instantly shattering it. Due to the weakening of its power, it dissipated. Lai Haisha was dumbfounded. Not only was his blood explosion fist blocked, but he was also pushed back. This was simply unimaginable. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sword light flashed behind him, causing his pupils to shrink. He hurriedly used his body movement technique to dodge. Yi Xingqian held his sword and walked over step by step. His eyes were cold and sharp. I've already said that I'm your opponent, yet you're using your martial skill to attack someone else. Are you looking down on me? Bastard! He said coldly. Die. Swoosh. Shwa. Whoosh. He waved his sword 3 times in a row, and 3 sword lights burst out, as if it was a spiritual energy martial skill. Jun Changsha was astonished. That guy seemed to have casually slashed out 3 times with his sword. But why did the sword light he formed look so much like my slash? That's what I'll do. When Yi Xingqian was cultivating, he had an idea and cleverly used it on his sword. Needless to say, this kind of spiritual energy martial skill could not only be used alone, but it was also very compatible with weapons. After it was combined with the sword chi, its power was greatly increased. Not good. Lai Haisha's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly activated his blood and used his body movement technique to dodge. This was the support of an evil sect's body movement technique. If it were an ordinary person, they would not be able to dodge and could only take it head-on. After killing an enemy, Li Qingyang happened to see junior brother Yi use his sword chi. His eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of realization. So my slash could be used like this. Swoosh. He poured his spiritual energy into his sword and silently chanted the chant of my slash. He shouted, slash. Whoosh, the martial skill and sword chi instantly merged perfectly. A sword light burst out and attacked at an extremely fast speed, instantly killing an enemy 20 meters away on the spot. Damn! Seeing this, Su Xiaomo exclaimed, so powerful. I'll cut. He followed suit and fused his martial arts technique with the cold edge sword. Instantly, he slashed out 3 spiritual energy sword chi and swept across the grass. Poochie! 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 The 3 disciples of Black Eagle Hall could not escape and were killed on the spot by the unparalleled sword chi. When Li Fei, Tian Qi, and the others saw this, they immediately followed suit. In an instant, all the Ironbone disciples brandished their swords, condensing a long-range attack that was suitable for long-range attacks. He made a move with his sword. This I behead could be considered a true I behead, Jun Changshao said. I didn't expect that the martial arts modified by the mysterious Almighty could be applied to weapons. Nonsense, the system said. Otherwise, how could it be described as all-knowing? Jun Changshao stroked his chin and said, Xingchen is pretty smart. He actually thought of using it on a weapon. In terms of martial arts attainments, Knight Emperor was truly smart. However, due to the limitations of his body, and the fact that he had just been reborn, it was difficult for him to display many of his strengths. This attainment was especially outstanding in actual combat. After the attack, he rushed over with the crossing dragon and slashed at the dodging Lai Haisha. Although the martial arts techniques of the evil sect martial artists were evil, they all had a common problem. The greater the power, the longer it took to store up power. As long as he closed in step by step, and did not give him a chance to use it, it was equivalent to wasting half of his martial arts. As expected, Lai Haisha hurriedly dodged, and could not divert his attention to use his martial arts. Yi Xingchen seized this opportunity, and instantly closed in. His wrist shook frequently, and sword light flashed one after another. Bang! 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 The sword chi scattered and blasted on the grass, showing long and deep sword marks. Although Lai Haisha could rely on his body technique to dodge, he was still in a difficult position. At this time, the disciples of Iron Bone used their weapons to execute I behead, and frantically killed the remaining members of Black Eagle Hall. Especially the members of Drizzle Hall. After mastering the spiritual energy martial arts techniques, they relied on their body techniques to constantly move and use their weapons to attack. It was as if they had set up an inescapable net. What awaited the disciples of Black Eagle Hall was only death. Their morale was already greatly reduced. Now that they saw the sword chi flying around, their frightened eyes were filled with despair. In the end, they were tragically killed. After using I behead, it was easier for Iron Bone to cut the grass. So when Yi Xingchen's side started fighting, more than 100 members of Black Eagle Hall died. When Lai Haisha dodged, he saw that more than 300 disciples were left with only 100 left. He immediately roared with his eyes wide open. These were the main disciples. With so many dead, the sect's vitality would definitely be greatly damaged. Whoosh, the sword chi attacked even faster than before. Poochie! Lai Haisha could not dodge in time. His right shoulder was scratched and blood gushed out. At this time, he finally realized that he should not be thinking about the sect, but how to survive. Retreat. As soon as the thought arose, he put it into action. The blood in his body burned crazily, and he was about to use the sect's body technique to escape. If his opponent was Li Qingyang, he might succeed. However, his opponent was Yi Xingchen. When he felt the evil aura erupting, he immediately stepped forward. His wrist shook quickly, and he used the linear speed formula. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Sword chi shot out one after another. There were a total of 35 sword chi. In Death Valley, Yi Xingchen used 30 sword chi in one breath. Now there were 5 more sword chi. This meant that half a month of body tempering did not waste his comprehension of Ling Jian's divine technique. Lai Haisha, who had just stimulated his blood and wanted to escape, felt the sword chi behind him. His pupils suddenly shrank. He unwillingly shouted in grief. No! Pucci! Pucci! 35 sword chi intertwined, and instantly cut the Hall Master of Black Eagle Hall into 8 pieces. The moment he died, an old man who was cultivating in a secret room suddenly opened his eyes. He was filled with murderous intent. Who dares to kill my beloved disciple? Chapter 234. After Lai Haisha was cut into pieces by Yi Xingchen, an old man thousands of miles away seemed to have felt it. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He was the first Hall Master of Black Eagle Hall. No one knew what his real name was. The disciples called him Hall Master, and the evil sects called him Elder Ghost. Why was he called Elder Ghost? Because the first Hall Master had a strong understanding of movement techniques. When he used it, he was like a ghost. Lai Haisha was Elder Ghost's favorite disciple. He went out to comprehend higher martial arts and passed the sect to him. Now that he suddenly lost contact, he realized that something bad had happened. Who dared to kill my favorite disciple? Elder Ghost's gloomy eyes flashed with killing intent. He broke out of the cave and ran like a ghost in the night. He was heading towards Huaying County. That speed, that movement technique. It was worthy of the word ghost. Elder Ghost's strength was not bad. After he left his position as Hall Master, he had been comprehending the blood magic scripture. He had already broken through to the 3rd rank Wuzong. Those who killed my disciple will be punished by the 9 generations of their family. They will never be reincarnated. In the wilderness, there was a voice filled with endless anger, causing the beasts to flee. At the foot of Black Eagle Mountain, after Lai Haisha was killed, the Black Eagle Hall disciples who were still fighting like cornered beasts had completely collapsed. In the end, they were all killed on the spot by the Ironbone disciples. At this point, a 7th-rate evil sect, along with the Hall Master and the sect's elites, were all killed. There were still people from the sect on the mountain, but they were just a bunch of small fries. Search. After everything was done, Jun Changshao said. The disciples quickly started to loot the bags and collected a lot of space rings. Blood magic scripture, blood explosion fist, blood explosion step? Jun Changshao merged with Lai Haisha's ring and found the 3 top-rank evil sect techniques of Black Eagle Hall. Although they were useless, he still kept them in his space ring. Martial arts techniques could only be considered too little, but not too much. The system said, evil sect techniques take the extreme path. Host, it is best not to cultivate them, so as not to kill your future martial arts. I know what to do, Jun Changshao said. After searching all the disciples, he used the exquisite fire to burn all the corpses. Only then did he look at the Black Eagle Hall on the mountain and said coldly, go up the mountain and exterminate the sect. Yes. The disciples rushed forward. Black Eagle Hall, a 7th-rate sect, had a total of 500 to 600 people. The Hall Master and the elites had all been killed, so there were not many left in the headquarters. When Xiao Ziji smashed open the door with a heavy punch, all the Ironbone disciples rushed in and wiped them out. If they were from a righteous sect, Jun Changshao might have kept them alive. However, killing these evil sect disciples was the best choice. Same old rules, continue searching. Not long after, Su Xiaoma found the Black Eagle Hall's treasury first. Pushing open the heavy stone door, he was greeted by a sea of dazzling jewels. He couldn't even open his eyes. I'll go. After getting used to it, Su Xiaoma looked at the mountain of gold and silver and said in disbelief, so much gold and silver. Jun Changshao rushed over when he heard the news. After a rough estimation, the value should be around 10 million taels. He couldn't help but sigh. This 7th-rate sect is quite rich. The Black Eagle Hall was a robber, so they must be rich. Unfortunately, they didn't have the life to spend it. They were all taken away by Jun Changshao. After that, a disciple found a secret room in Lai Haisha's residence. There were more than 500 spirit stones inside. Needless to say, they were all taken away. After a round of looting, all the valuables of the Black Eagle Hall, including martial techniques and weapons, were all taken away by Jun Changshao. The spatial ring that increased the storage space by 5 times suddenly became much more abundant. OJ8K retreat. Whoosh whoosh. When everyone went down the mountain, the Black Eagle Hall's headquarters suddenly burst into flames. The building that had been built for 100 years was burned to ashes. It was not hard to imagine that when the people of Huaiying County knew that the seventh-rate evil sect was destroyed, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Cousin, I will avenge you. When all the people of Ironbone Hall had retreated, a martial artist clenched his fist and came out from a dark stone. With the help of the night light, one could see that this person was the green scarf martial artist Dai Lu, that Jun Changxiao had beaten up when he went to Qingyang City to recruit disciples. After the Spirit Spring Sect was destroyed, didn't he go to join the Sacred Spring Sect? Yes, Dai Lu went to join them. After passing a difficult test, he became an inner disciple. The inner disciples were of a lower rank than the outer disciples. What they did every day was either chopping wood, carrying water, or running errands. They were no different from servants. In order to avenge the former patriarch, Dai Lu worked hard and cultivated wholeheartedly. Now he had opened 10 meridians. Half a month ago, the sect had a mission to send a letter to Huaiying County. He rushed over. After he finished, he prepared to return. In the city, he met his cousin and learned that he had joined the sect. He followed him to visit the Black Eagle Hall. Dai Lu's cousin wanted to take the opportunity to persuade his cousin to let him join the Black Eagle Hall. Who would have thought that on the second day, the sect would be destroyed? As for Dai Lu, because he drank some wine with his cousin and went to pee at night, he walked in a daze and wandered around the back of the mountain for half a day. Then he heard the screams of the sect. His drunkenness dissipated and he cleverly hid. Later, Jun Changxiao left with his disciples. With the help of the flame, he saw his appearance and immediately recognized that he was the murderer of the Spirit Spring Sect. Dai Lu was really something. Our sect master Jun crossed over to the other world and destroyed 2 sections. He was present at the scene and he even survived. So sometimes when luck comes, you can't die even if you want to. When luck is bad, you can be killed by a falling plaque when you go out to pee. Jun Changxiao, Dai Lu clenched his fist, roaring in his heart. You killed my grandmother's mother's father's second uncle's sister-in-law's brother. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. Cousin. He turned around and looked at the monstrous flame, secretly swearing, I will take revenge for you. Dai Lu was also very smart. He did not leave immediately, afraid that Ironbone's people were waiting below. So he hid in the dark and only hurried down the mountain when the sky was about to brighten. However, just as he walked down the mountain pass, a cold wind blew over. A black-haired old man suddenly stood beside him, his eyes flashing with a terrifying killing intent. Dai Lu, who was originally worried about being discovered by Ironbone, suddenly discovered that someone had appeared out of thin air. He said in horror, Ghost! Pa! Ghost Elder quickly rushed over and grabbed his neck. A strange aura instantly enveloped him and seeped into his sea of consciousness. This was an extremely tyrannical evil technique that could absorb memories. The user could forcibly search the target's memories and obtain the information they wanted. A moment later, Ghost Elder released his hand, his eyes gloomy. Ironbone, not only did you kill my beloved disciple, you also destroyed my Black Eagle Hall. This old man will repay this debt 1,000 times. Shua. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared. The location he went to was the Azure Sun County. Obviously, he wanted to take revenge for his beloved disciple and sect. As for Dai Lu, after his memories were forcibly extracted, his entire body collapsed on the ground. He hugged his head and howled in pain. His consciousness gradually disappeared. There were 2 outcomes for having one's sea of consciousness forcefully extracted by an evil technique. The first was to lose one's mind and become crazy. The second was to die on the spot. I'm going to die. Dai Lu, who still had a trace of consciousness, could deeply feel his life slipping away bit by bit. He didn't want to die before taking revenge for the former patriarch and his cousin. A strong desire to live rose in his heart, but it was difficult to reverse the loss of his life. Death was getting closer and closer. I don't want to die. I'm not willing. Suddenly, Dai Elvi's entire body was enveloped by a green light. Even his black hair had turned a glossy green. The life force that was about to dissipate also slowly recovered miraculously. Chapter 235. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden quest. Punish the evil and eliminate the evil. Ding! Sect contribution points. 780-1000. This was the system notification that came from the mountain road after Jun Changshao set fire to the Black Eagle Hall. Previously, when he destroyed the Black Wind Stockade, he completed a mission of eliminating evil for the people. Today, when he destroyed the Black Eagle Hall, he completed a mission of punishing the evil and eliminating the evil. It seems that the system wants me to be a person who upholds justice on behalf of the heavens. Upholding justice on behalf of the heavens? I wonder if there's such a hidden quest. On the way back to the Azure Sun County, Jun Changshao kept thinking about idioms, such as waiting for rabbits to appear, pulling up seedlings to help them grow. However, there were too many idioms. Who knew which one was the quest and how to complete it? Sigh. He sighed and said to himself, I have no idea at all. The system said, the hidden quest is up to fate. There's no need for the host to think about it. All right, Jun Changshao said. After we return, we can only rely on recruiting disciples to earn contribution points. Without a moment's rest, he brought his disciples back to the Azure Sun County. After they had left for 4 to 6 hours, Elder Ghost chased after them from 1,000 miles away and obtained everything from Dai Lu's memories. His disciple was killed, his sect was destroyed. All of this was related to the Iron Bone. So he chased after them and secretly swore that he would pay them back 1,000 times over. However, what Elder Ghost did not expect was that the ant-like martial cultivator that he had extracted from his memories actually did not die. Instead, he miraculously survived. When his life force became vigorous again, Dai Lu, who was lying on the ground, also had a dazed look on his face. He really didn't understand how he could still be alive. Could it be that his own misery and unwillingness had deeply moved the heavens? Dai Lu gently raised his hand and discovered that his skin had already changed from green to normal. He couldn't help but think to himself, what was that green light just now? Shua! He jumped up, and after confirming that he was safe and sound, he hurriedly left the Black Eagle Mountain. On the way, he secretly swore, Jun Changshao, and that ghost-like guy, just you wait. Who? Right at this moment, Elder Ghost appeared before him without anyone noticing, and he said with surprise, you're actually still alive under my soul assimilation technique. Little fellow, you're not simple. Dai Lu's expression changed greatly. In the next second, he turned around and fled. Unfortunately, just as he turned around, Elder Ghost had already stretched out his hand. This time he didn't grab him by the neck, but by the head. He said sinisterly, this old man wants to take a good look at what secrets you're hiding. Hoo-hoo. Casting the mind-manipulating technique, it instantly poured into his sea of consciousness. Dai Lu, who had experienced it once, begged for mercy in horror, say, Senior, don't kill. Ah! The blood-curdling screams resounded in the night sky, making one's hair stand on end. Plop! His knees hit the ground, and then he collapsed to the ground. The one on the ground was not Dai Lu, but Elder Ghost. His eyes were wide open as he lay on the ground. His body was shrouded in green light. His limbs began to shrink rapidly until all that was left was skin and bones. Whoosh! The green light flew up and quickly merged into Dai Lu's body. Hoo-hoo! In an instant, pure spiritual energy gathered in his dantian. Not only did it quickly open his 11th and 12th meridians, it also helped him condense a cyclone, breaking through to 7th grade martial disciple. The whole process happened in an extremely short time. When everything was over, Dai Lu, who was still begging for mercy, saw the old man die in front of him like a dried corpse. He was so scared that he sat on the ground paralyzed. What happened? Feeling the strong energy gathering in his body, he was dumbfounded on the spot. After a long while, when Dai Lu had completely adapted to it, he was sure that he had suddenly become stronger. Furthermore, it wasn't just by a little bit. Suddenly, he realized that his hands had turned green again. The area his palms were pressing on was quickly withering, as if they had lost their life force. At the same time, a weak spiritual energy entered his body from his palms. Although it didn't have much effect, he could clearly feel it. Dai Lu instantly understood. Could that weak spiritual energy come from the flowers and plants? When he touched them, could it be that he had absorbed the spiritual energy within them? Looking at the old man beside him who was like a dried corpse, his gaze gradually turned from sluggish to ecstasy. In the end, he couldn't help but secretly say, "I can devour other people's spiritual energy?" In order to confirm his guess, Dai Lu hurriedly stood up and walked in front of a large tree. He placed his palm on the bark of the tree. As expected, the moment his green palm came into contact with the tree, it quickly absorbed the life force within. The originally thriving towering tree quickly withered, and the yellowed leaves fell down in patches. At the same time, the absorbed spiritual energy turned into energy and merged into Dai Lu's body, causing his cyclone to increase a little. At this time, even an idiot could understand what was going on. Thus, under the night sky, an incomparably excited laughter rang out. Ahahaha! Ahahaha! Dai Lu, who originally thought that he was going to die, miraculously absorbed Elder Gui and obtained his energy, breaking through to 7th grade martial disciple from 10th stage channel opening in one go. Using the terminology of fantasy novels, this was a proper devourer. Gah! His smile suddenly stopped. The green light on Dai Lu's palm disappeared. No matter how much he tried, it would not appear again. Why is it gone? Could it only appear when I'm in danger? Although depressed, Dai Lu could not hide his excitement as his cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. He clenched his fist and coldly said, "Jun Changshao, sooner or later, I will take my revenge." After saying this, he stood up and left. As soon as he took a step, his speed was extremely fast as a ghost shadow. From this, it could be seen that Brother Green Scarf had not only absorbed Elder Gui's cultivation, but also comprehended his blood explosion steps. Although it could not be compared to Elder Gui, at the level of martial disciple, it was already very powerful. Awesome. Super awesome. At that moment, Dai Lu, who was galloping through the wilderness, had a feeling of supremacy. He wanted nothing more than to catch up to Iron Bone and ruthlessly trample on them. Calm down, calm down. That guy and his disciple were too powerful. Although he had obtained great power, 2 fists were no match for many fists. It was better to return to the Sacred Spring Sect first, study the green light thoroughly, and raise his cultivation to a higher level before taking his revenge. 2 fists were no match for many fists. This guy overestimated himself. He had only swallowed the power of others and increased his cultivation. Even if he became a martial master now, facing an outer sect disciple like Long Xiang, he would still be tortured to the point of doubting his life. Absorbing the power of an expert and entering the 7th stage of the Meridian Opening Realm in one go, Dai Lu was definitely cheating. It was definitely an inspirational story of a small character turning the tide. But Elder Gui was very tragic. He was an old man in the saying, "When you beat the small one, the old one comes." Usually it was a boss. In the end, he was killed by an ant without even seeing Iron Bone's people. Speaking of which, Sect leader Jun really had to thank Dai Lu. If he had not intercepted halfway and killed Elder Gui, it would have been a bit of a headache to face a mysterious Wuzong. However, the death of a dangerous person and the success of an ant, it was hard to say whether or not it would bring more trouble in the future. Putong. Aya. Dai Lu forgot about everything and ran at full speed. In the end, he accidentally bumped into a huge rock. At present, even if Brother Green Scarf was a devourer, with his intelligence, he was unable to pose any substantial threat to the system users, the trash, and the reborn. Therefore, although a small character turned the tide, if he wanted to continue to turn the tide of the main characters, he would have a long way to go. Chapter 236. 2 days later, Jun Changshao brought his disciples back to the sect. Huayin County was in an uproar because the Black Eagle Hall on the Black Eagle Mountain was burned to ruins. Could it be that the sect was destroyed? When the news spread, it swept through the entire Huaiying County like a gale. For a moment, everyone was talking about this matter, and most of them were secretly happy. There were many evil sects in Huaiying County, but the most notorious one was the Black Eagle Hall, because this sect did not care about the rules of the Jianghu and killed people and robbed people all day long. Now that the sect was burned and the whereabouts of the Hall Master and his disciples were unknown, someone must have acted on behalf of the heavens and destroyed this power. It was normal for righteous people to be happy. When the evil sects found out, they also clapped their hands and praised. The Black Eagle Hall was really smelly. Of course, apart from being happy, everyone was discussing which hero destroyed the Black Eagle Hall that had been established for 100 years. Unfortunately, there were no witnesses. Everyone could only speculate based on the forces that the Black Eagle Hall had offended. In the end, they could not find anyone, because the forces that they had offended were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. Someone once said that the deputy hall master of the Black Eagle Hall had chased after Ironbone in Death Valley, but it did not attract much attention. The martial artists in Huaiying County would never have thought that an 8th-rate sect in Azure Sun County would destroy the deputy hall master and the others, and then destroy the Black Eagle Hall first. For a moment there were different opinions. As for how the Black Eagle Hall was destroyed, it was destined to become the next unsolved mystery in history. The Azure Sun County also received the news, but because it was a matter outside the county, they only discussed it casually and did not take it seriously. Their focus was now on the AI family's pills and Ironbone's challenge to the Sacred Spring Sect in a few months. After returning to the sect, Jun Changxiao gave out the spatial rings he had obtained, one by one, so that each disciple could have one. After destroying the Black Eagle Hall, he obtained a considerable amount of wealth and resources, so he could not help but have the idea of robbing the evil sects under the banner of acting on behalf of the heavens. No, this was a bit too high profile, and not in line with the strategy of keeping a low profile. After coming to the other world, he first destroyed the Spiritual Spring Sect, then defeated the Grand Qi Sect, and now he even destroyed the Black Eagle Hall. He could not tell how was he keeping a low profile. Sect leader. The next day after he returned to the sect, Elder Wei came to see him and said, "The second batch of herbs has matured and can be harvested." Really? Jun Changxiao was overjoyed and hurried to the herb garden. Under Elder Wei's meticulous care, more than 10 mu of medicinal fields were filled with mature medicinal herbs, and even denser spiritual energy gathered in the air. Jun Changxiao took a deep breath, and his spirits were lifted. "Elder Wei," he said in astonishment, "under your care, the medicinal garden has become a treasured land full of spiritual energy." Elder Wei said, "Sect leader, our Ironbone Mountain is too ordinary. I suggest that we plant some spiritual herbs around it. It should be able to increase the heaven and earth attributes." "That's a good suggestion." Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up. Although the Ironbone Mountain was big, it was really ordinary. Although there was a little bit of spiritual power, it was still far from being comparable to the Blessed Enclave. Not to mention the Black Hawk Mountain, even the 9 flowing Spirit Spring Sect's Spirit Spring Mountain was much stronger than the Ironbone Mountain in terms of spiritual power. Outstanding people and places. There was spiritual energy in the beautiful mountains and rivers, which could nurture outstanding talents. All kinds of infrastructure had to be present, and the spiritual energy of the Ironbone Mountain had to be strengthened. Only then could he and his disciples benefit. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to gather spiritual energy in a place where spiritual energy was thin. However, Elder Wei could improve it by cultivating medicinal herbs. Once the spiritual energy of the Ironbone Mountain was strengthened, the speed of cultivating medicinal herbs would increase. Then, after they matured, they would continue to release the heaven and earth attributes, creating a virtuous cycle. However, Elder Wei added, "This is a big project. It's definitely not something that can be achieved in 2 or 3 years." "It's fine," Jun Changxiao said. "I strongly support you in planting trees." It didn't matter if it was slow. As long as it could improve the ecological environment of the Ironbone Mountain, it would be a matter of great merit and benefit for the future. In that case, Elder Wei said, Sect leader, please buy more medicinal herb seeds. It's best if they are of high quality. Jun Changxiao said, no problem. Next, Elder Wei began to collect the medicinal herbs. He did not ask the disciples of the medicinal hall to help him. Instead, he picked them himself, aiming to perfectly preserve the spiritual energy. After a round of inventory, there were more than 2,000 sets of medicinal herbs used to refine the qi-gathering pill. In terms of medicinal effect, they were stronger than those planted previously. Elder Wei, Jun Changxiao said with emotion, it's really a blessing for my Ironbone Mountain to be able to recruit a medicinal herb master like you. Elder Wei smiled and said, thank you for your kindness, Sect leader. This old man is willing to do his best in his lifetime. That's a little inauspicious. Jun Changxiao said, Elder Wei is old and clumsy. He will definitely live a long life. Ha ha ha. Elder Wei laughed and said, only by entering the Martial King realm can one have a lifespan of 1,000 years. My old bones can't count on it. Breaking through to the Martial King realm will give you a lifespan of 1,000 years? It's not that difficult, Jun Changxiao said. The corner of Elder Wei's mouth twitched. Although martial kings were not the strongest existences in the Falling Star continent, those who could be called martial kings were all overlords. Yet, the sect leader said it was not difficult. After collecting the medicinal herbs, Jun Changxiao left the medicinal garden to refine pills. Elder Wei continued to plant high-quality seeds with his disciples. After 2 rounds of cultivation, the spiritual energy in the medicinal garden had increased. The 3rd round of maturation would also be shortened by a lot. This was what Jun Changxiao wanted to see the most. If there were more high-quality medicinal herbs in the 1-year agreement, it would definitely help him and his disciples to improve. Inside the room, Jun Changxiao sat cross-legged and circulated the tendons changing scripture. Inside the medicine refinery pavilion, alchemy was going on. The tinkling sounds were endless, like beautiful music. Elder Wei's 2nd batch of medicinal herbs was refined. Because of the quality of the materials, the effects were also high. After refining all of them, Jun Changxiao took 1 pill. He estimated that the absorption speed would be 15 times faster. If he took it 24 hours a day, it would be equivalent to him absorbing spiritual energy for 15 days, if others absorbed spiritual energy for 1 day. Jun Changxiao's eyes were burning. The medicinal herbs planted by Elder Wei are definitely the key to strengthening my iron bone. The next day, he gave out 10 energy-gathering pills to each disciple who participated in the extermination of Black Eagle Hall as a reward. Then, he went to Huyang City to find the AI family head and inform him of his purpose. What? AI Shangxiao was shocked. You need hundreds of thousands of such seeds? Can you get it? Jun Changxiao asked. AI Shangxiao calmed down and said, although the quantity is large, we can get it. However, the price is a bit expensive. The high-quality medicinal herbs were given by him previously. The quantity was not too much, so the AI family could afford it. But hundreds of thousands of them were too expensive. Jun Changxiao threw a spatial ring and said, there are 20 million inside. You can find it. AI Shangxiao's mouth twitched. Taking out so much money to buy medicinal herbs seeds was definitely a big deal. Don't worry, Sect Head Jun, AI Shangxiao said. I will use the fastest time to gather 20 million high-quality medicinal herb seeds. Jun Changxiao said. Take the money and return the ring to me. He had already taken out 20 million, but he still cared about a spatial ring. He was really stingy. Oh right, Sect Head Jun. After discussing business, AI Shangxiao smiled and said, the neighboring Pingyang County will be holding a large-scale inter-sect competition in half a month. Is your sect interested in participating? Not interested. Jun Changxiao said. Ding. Side mission activated. He opened the data panel. The mission was send a disciple to participate in the inter-sect competition in Pingyang County and become the champion. Jun Changxiao finished his words. I want to participate too. Chapter 237. Jun Changshao used to have the idea of sending disciples to participate in the inter-sect tournament because they could improve their combat skills. However, he gave up on the idea after seeing the Tower of Experience. He still needed time to refine the Tower of Experience, so he didn't have the time to compete with others. After the side mission came, he had to participate even if he wasn't interested. After all, he was earning contribution points. The system said, the first epic mission is to win the inter-sect tournament, and now the side mission is also to win the inter-sect tournament. This elite mission isn't easy. It's only challenging if it's hard, Jun Changshao said. Ai Shang said, as far as I know, the sects participating in the inter-sect tournament are mainly 6th or 7th grade. The strongest participant is a 9th grade martial disciple. System, pretend I didn't say anything. Why? This was because the inner disciples of the Iron Bone sect were already invincible in the martial disciple level. The strongest participant in the inter-sect tournament in Pingyang County was only a 9th grade martial disciple. Wouldn't that mean he could win with his eyes closed? Jun Changshao was overjoyed. The side mission given by the system was like giving rice to him for free. Master AI, he asked, are there any rewards? Since they were sending disciples to participate, they would definitely care more about the rewards. Ai Shang said, if a disciple can enter the top 10, they will receive 10 spirit stones. If they win, they will receive a high-grade martial technique and 100 spirit stones. So generous? Jun Changshao was stunned. In the inter-sect tournament in Liang City, Xiao Ziji only received a high-grade mortal martial technique and 10 spirit stones. In the inter-sect tournament in Pingyang County, there were 10 spirit stones for entering the top 10. The difference was like heaven and earth. Even if it wasn't for the contribution points, he would still participate for the 100 spirit stones. After leaving the AI family's medicine store, Jun Changshao returned to the sect and began to think about who to send to participate in the inter-sect tournament in Pingyang County. This kind of generous reward with a side mission would definitely be chosen from the inner disciples. Only Yi Xingchen and Li Fei didn't participate in the inter-sect tournament in Liang City, so one of them would be chosen. It's Xingchen, Jun Changshao said. When Yi Xingchen found out about this, he rejected it in his heart. After all, it was better to cultivate in the sect than to participate in a child-level competition. After learning about the Spirit Stone reward, he asked seriously, Sect leader, when are you going to participate in the inter-sect competition? We'll depart in 10 days, Jun Changshao said. 10 days? He could still cultivate for a while. Late at night. As usual, Jun Changshao entered the training tower to cultivate for 4 hours. After that, he took a hot bath and sat cross-legged in his room to circulate the body metamorphose scripture. The sect needed to develop, but their cultivation couldn't fall behind either. 2 hours later, Jun Changshao skillfully opened the shop and murmured, it's time to refresh. Ding! Sect contribution points, 7701000. The new products were still useless. However, at the end, he found a product called the Disciple Mall Vending Machine. Click on Details item, Disciples Store Vending Machine. Description: this item can be automatically sold to the goods in the Disciples store. You only need to use your finger to verify. You can choose to purchase the item if you have enough contribution points. Price: 100 contribution points. This thing is good, Jun Changshao said happily. In the sect missions that appeared before, many disciples completed them and received the corresponding contribution points. He had to buy them one by one and distribute them. It was too troublesome. Now that there was a vending machine in the disciples' store, the next time a sect mission appeared, the disciples could buy it themselves after completing the mission. It would undoubtedly save a lot of trouble. Ding! The host spent 100 contribution points and received the disciples' store vending machine X1. It has been transferred to the space ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 6701000. After buying it, Jun Changshao didn't dare to refresh the shop again. He was afraid that he would get addicted and waste a lot of contribution points. When the sun rose, he left the vending machine in the mission pavilion. Morning. Under the brainwashing of the divine song, the disciples' hearts were beating happily, and their minds were being nourished. The best dancer was definitely Lu Wanshi. All kinds of self-choreographed dances were definitely pleasing to the eye. Unfortunately, she was born in the wrong place. If she was on Earth, she would definitely capture the hearts of countless otakus who would be willing to cheer for her. After the morning exercise, Jun Changxiao explained the functions of the vending machine. The disciples hurried to the mission pavilion. "Let me try." Cui Bujian stood in front of the machine and pressed the fingerprint button with his thumb. The screen immediately showed the data disciple. Cui Bujian contribution points. 3 below were many items in the disciple's store, such as wooden swords and chi-gathering elixirs. What should he buy? Cui Bujian thought for a while, and pressed the chi-gathering elixir, and bought 3 portions. At the moment, he needed resources to raise his level, so buying chi-gathering elixirs was more cost-effective than buying wooden swords. The disciples who had completed the mission tested it one by one. When they saw that they still had contribution points, they also chose to buy chi-gathering elixirs. Sect leader Li Qingyang stood outside the main hall and said, "Although the vending machine is not bad, there are too few sect missions. Many of the disciples don't have enough contribution points to buy items." Jun Changxiao said, "Don't worry, there will be more in the future." The system stipulated that the sect mission would only be activated after the number of disciples had been filled. Before the 3rd activation, they had to recruit 1,000 disciples. Sigh. Jun Changxiao sighed. If there were sect missions every day, even if I didn't have contribution points, I could still do it. The system said, "There is a product in the store called the Mission Issuer. There will be missions issued every day. Disciples who complete them will only increase their contribution points, meeting the host's requirements." "Is it easy to farm?" Jun Changxiao asked. The system said, "Yes, but it's only sold in mid-level stores." Scram. Master AI was very efficient. In just a few days, he came to visit and brought with him 200,000 high-quality herb seeds. On average, one seed cost only 100 taels. Seeds were never expensive. The difficult part was planting and cultivating them. Spending 20 million to buy 200,000 seeds made Jun Changxiao's heart ache. But when he thought about how it could improve the ecological environment of MT Iron Bone, it was still acceptable. After obtaining a large number of seeds, Elder Wei said, "Sect leader, please send more people to follow me to plant them." Yes. Jun Changxiao sent Long Xiang, Sima Zhongda, and the others over. The transformation of the sect's ecological environment began in full swing. 10 days later, with Iron Bone as the center, high-quality medicinal herbs were all planted within a few miles. Then, the disciples of the medicinal hall were responsible for cultivating them. This was to return the favor to Sun Bukong and the others. After all, they had planted 200,000 seeds. It was a little tiring, but it could undoubtedly improve the technique of cultivating medicinal herbs. Therefore, the disciples of the medicinal hall were also happy. "Let's go." After breakfast, Jun Changxiao left with Yi Xingchen and headed to Pingyang County to participate in the sect competition. "Junior brother Yi, senior brother." The disciples sent him off and shouted, "We will wait for your triumphant return." TSK. Yi Xingchen snorted coldly. For some reason, there was a slight change in his state of mind. In his previous life he had no friends. When he fought with others he was always alone. Now that he was participating in the sect competition, he had a group of senior and junior brothers sending him off. That strange feeling was something he had never experienced in his previous life. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.